Kongversation.
I'm at the boat store, but I don't have any money. Oh wait, my leopard Gary is mauling the employees. Holiday shopping is easy when you commit mass murder.
Hello, and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Nick Prol.
Hey Nick, how drunk are you this week?
I'm not drunk at all, but these lederhosen are starting to itch.
So you've finally gotten clean, but unfortunately your fashion sense is still of a complete slobbish drunkard.
Yeah, I was Bjorn in a different era, what can I say?
yeah. Some controversy about the way we pronounce Bjorn Bear.
Oh,
I don't know if you were aware of
Bjorn?
this. I think it's Burn, actually.
Burn?
Like or something similar. Born? I don't know, because we are ugly Americans and we don't know this. But yeah, we were taken to task a little bit for the episode that has taken forever to get up. But the people who have heard it and have heard the entire Spotlight series have criticized our pronunciation of what we say, Bjorn. Now, I like Bjorn. I'm comfortable with Bjorn. Bjorn is my safe space. I don't know if I want to abruptly change the way I pronounce something. I mean, therein lies the path to Kremki instead of Kremque. And quite frankly, that's just not a world I want to live in this post-fact era.
That's the path to madness right there.
And we wouldn't want to be anything less than the pillars of sanity here at DK Vine.
I mean, what's next? Are they going to tell me I can't pronounce my favorite Simpsons character, Mr. Bjorns, correctly?
Maybe that is what it is in the Scandinavian dub of The Simpsons.
Maybe.
Bjorny Sanders. He was really popular with the millennials earlier this year. Do you remember Bjorny Sanders? So this is it, Nick. This is the end of the Donkey Kong Country 3 Spotlight episode. We're going to be discussing the last 4 worlds of the game, plus that grand doozy of a finale. But first, we have some current events to get to. Now, last time we discussed that Rare was opening the technical alpha for Sea of Thieves. This time, we've got news over from our friends at Playtonic. The release date for Yooka-Laylee has been revealed. And there's good news and there's bad news. And chances are, if you are anywhere near the pulse of this fandom, you already know what this is. But in case you've been living in a safe cave for the past 4 weeks, then the big news of this week, the week and a half before Christmas, is that Yooka-Laylee is now coming out April 11th, 2017. So that's the good news.
I've got my Wii U ready already.
Well, Nick, I'm afraid it's time to chuck that piece of shit in the dumpster, because you won't need it anymore. Unless you want to play Tropical Freeze, or I guess if you like, the other games for the console. But
I like watching Netflix in bed.
Yeah, because there's no other devices that play Netflix, unfortunately.
No.
Yes, the Wii U version of Yooka-Laylee, the version that people were looking forward to the most, because let's face facts, a lot of Playtonic's diehard followers are Nintendo loyalists who miss Rare and refuse to cross the border into Xbox land because there's that wall now. But
we made Microsoft pay for it.
Yeah. Granted, Bill Gates just built it out of malaria nets, so it's not that tricky to cut through. But we'll humor him. He's a good lad. But yes, the Nintendo loyalists who were so happy that finally a Rare game-ish was coming for a Nintendo system once again, had their hopes and dreams utterly obliterated, because Yooka-Laylee will not be coming for the Wii U. And Playtonic...
Utterly? You mean it's not even coming out for any Nintendo system?
Well, it is. Playtonic has promised that there is going to be a Switch version eventually.
Phew.
Just not on release. And
Just after everyone else has enjoyed it and Nintendo loyalists haven't.
right. So, I mean, granted, come on, Nintendo loyalists. This should be par for the course for any third-party or independent game, generally. I mean, with very few exceptions.
Or any game at this point.
Yeah, right. That isn't Mario or Zelda or your odd ones like Splatoon. No, what I think happened, Playtonic chalked it up to technical issues that they couldn't overcome. And that might very well be true, and I have no reason to doubt them. But I also think it's a simple matter of the Wii U is dying roughly a month before not even a month before Ukulele comes out. The Wii U is essentially dead already. They have ceased production on the sucker. The ones that are out on retail shelves now are the last Wii U's in existence.
Oh.
This is the end of the Wii U, and I feel like Nintendo, who wants to promote the Switch, doesn't want any distractions or to give their loyal consumer base any reasons to delay making the Switch. So basically, they could have told Playtonic, hey, no, cut this out. No ukulele for the Wii U. Then again, the Wii U is, let's face facts, an inferior piece of hardware compared to every other platform ukulele is coming out on. And since it's being built essentially for the PC, and Playtonic was handling the PC dev and the Wii U dev, since it was so different than the other platforms, they were handling it in-house. I believe someone else is essentially porting it over to the other consoles for them. But it was a monumental task, I think, to put it on the Wii U, and they probably would have had to make some serious compromises. And I think maybe at the end of the day, if this is on a level and it's not anything handed down from Nintendo, then they just couldn't make it work. And they tried to make it work up till the 11th hour, and it just didn't come together because, let's face facts, the Wii U is garbage. So, now
It had some good games.
I know it. I'm not saying the games are garbage. I'm saying the system itself, the hardware is trash. It's
just like one of its earliest games, it has become Zombie U. It is dead, yet still trying to live.
Right. And zombies haven't overstayed their welcome whatsoever.
Hell nah, man. I can't wait till the new Walking Dead spinoff. Everybody loves The Walking Dead.
I can't wait for TWD season 7.5. I can't wait to find out what happens with Negan and his baseball bat. That sounds
I can't
like
wait
television.
to be switching channels and have my 4-year-old daughter see an Asian man's eye pop out of his socket and get his face eviscerated on primetime TV. But
to be fair, the Wahlberg family has already witnessed that on many occasions. Look it up, kids. Look up Marky Mark's past. So,
I see what you're saying. An
yeah.
Asian man. No, he blinded him.
He knocked out that eyeball.
With science.
With science, yeah. Dr. Marky Mark Wahlberg.
Do I have to go Thomas Dolby on your ass? I'm going to go Thomas Dolby on your ass.
You know, his brother Donnie is also a scientist, and that's why he's partnered with Jenny McCarthy to lead the way in vaccine medicine.
Is he with her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they make a perfect couple. I mean,
he's been vaccinating her.
She seems like the kind of person who would show up naked crying in someone's bathroom, then shoot themselves. So she's good, in good hands.
So anyway, ukulele not coming out for the Wii U after all. But if you're a lucky person who has an Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, Windows machine,
time to commence the gloating.
Mac or Linux, whatever the fuck that is.
The fuck?
It's a Peanuts character, right? Linux?
I think I've seen it, but it's like a penguin, I think. It's just it's a penguin named Linux.
Right, it's a penguin that will interpret video games for you through dance.
It's a lemguin.
There you go. You're actually bringing it into the show topic. But for all of you lucky ducks out there you go, Mamechi. You're going to get ukulele on April 11th. And if you are one of the poor unfortunate souls who kickstarted it who backed it through Kickstarter and opted for the Wii U version, like I did. Playtonic in early 2017, after the new year, will be getting in touch with you to let you know how you can switch your version, not for the Switch, but to get a different platform as your essentially game reward. And I'm going to be going with the Xbox One, and this works out well for me because I was regretting not picking the Xbox One. I picked the Wii U, I think, right before the Rare Renaissance really kicked in. I mean, it was like the early days of the Rare Renaissance, before Rare revealed Rare Replay and Sea of Thieves and their new logo, and before Big Reunion came out. So I didn't even have an Xbox One when Yooka-Laylee, the Kickstarter, went live. So, of course, I went with the Wii U version because I was like, oh yeah, Wii U, yeah! And now I'm a dirty, rotten Xbox shill. So this works out well.
You know
for
what
me.
would suck is if there was some like guy who had a busy life, had kids and a wife or something. He's a casual gamer at best, but he grew up with the Rare titles. And when he heard about Yooka-Laylee, he was like, oh, hell yeah, a Rare game on a Nintendo. So he buys a Wii U just for it and then finds about this.
And then he kills himself. And those kids are left without a father. And really, that's on Playtonic's head.
Hey, Playtonic, take yourself out the game.
No, I want to step up and defend Playtonic here because I've seen some people, thankfully not a lot of people have been understanding about this, but there are some people who are saying,
yeah,
fuck you,
it
Playtonic.
seems to be a lot. Even the people that are mad, it's sort of like a this sucks, what a bummer, not really a I'll burn you to the ground sort of thing.
As I explained on the DK Vine Facebook page, I was trying to put out some fires, and I said, look, this ultimately isn't Playtonic's fault. There is no way they could have known 2 years ago when they started this journey that the Wii U would be dead in 2 years. That would be
exactly.
unthinkable.
I'm sure they want to make more money by having it on more systems. I don't think they deliberately hindered themselves.
No, and it sounds like they tried everything they could up until the end to get it to the Wii U. But unfortunately, the Wii U has stopped breathing, and we have to, finish the job, smother it underneath a pillow, and just...
Or they previewed it for Reggie over at Nintendo, and little did we know there's another character in it, kind of like Inept, but called PU, and he's like a toilet. Looks like the Wii U, and they got really pissed off, and they're like, not on our system.
Yeah, and I don't think Nintendo handles self-deprecation or even
No.
gentle insults as well as Microsoft would, so... No. Look, I love the Wii U generally because there are games I really like on there. It's the system that brought us Tropical Freeze, and for that, I can never truly hate the legacy of the Wii U. But let's face facts, the Wii U is a huge misfire, and this is the sad final indignity it has to go out on. That because let's face facts, like Zelda is not going to be the Wii U swan song because most people are going to be looking at the Switch version. It's a Switch game now, essentially. So the Wii U is essentially done.
Mm-hmm.
Finished. So
R.I.P.
R.I.P. So the last victim of 2016 after Alan Thicke is the Wii U.
Oh, no.
And I say that knowing that there's still a couple weeks left in 2016, and I don't know. There's going to be a lot more celebrity deaths, I have a feeling. I'm just hoping that Paul McCartney can ride out the year. I hope his loved ones have put him in a bubble-wrapped room and like given him a bicycle helmet with oven mitts taped around him. I'm hoping they've taken every precaution to keep Paul McCartney safe because he is the one I'm worried about. Not that his health is bad or anything, but just because he is an aging rock star, and that would be the final slap in the face that 2016 has for me, is to kill Paul McCartney. Again!
What he needs is some sort of right-hand assistant, like, not just to take care of his paperwork, but like just to take care of him, and like hire them on for, a short period of time, but not forever. I don't know what I would call that, but that's what he needs.
Probably let's just say, briefly employed phone answering lady.
That sounds good.
Briefly employed phone answering lady. I need a briefly employed
Phone answering lady.
Critics are going to scoff at that, but it's really going to tear up the club scene in about 20 years.
Oh, hell yeah. Put a beat on that. You're done.
Why don't we get to Donkey Kong Country 3? We'll have more on ukulele in 2017, obviously. That's going to be a major topic of conversation in Season 5. But let's go back 20 years now and talk about 1996 some more. World 5!
World 5.
K3, which is... Okay, when we... In the grand scheme of naming conventions, I think K3 is one of the most meta names they could have come up with for this world.
Sure. It's like a naming convention for mountains, right? Like K2 Summit or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean... The 3 is like because it's DKC3.
K2 is
and then K is because it's Kremlings.
Well, yeah, I mean, K2 is the Earth's second highest mountain.
There we go.
In reality. So, I mean, K3, I think it's just because this is Donkey Kong Country 3. But it's you know, you might say it has something to do with the Kremlings or the Northern Hemisphere.
It's wrapped up pretty nicely with a little bow.
Yeah. The thing about K3 too, it's that did you ever realize that you're actually only in the foothills of K3, that you never actually see, or you see it on the map screen, but you never actually go up at the highest points of the mountain. That's never really seen in the submap, and that never really dawned on me up until recently. And I think what cemented it was when the movie Everest came out. I didn't see it, but you know, the whole climbing Mount Everest thing was in the public consciousness for
the Jake Gyllenhaal one.
Yeah, Keira Knightley and that Bland guy he was in all those movies. He was in the second.
Keira Knightley as concerned wife at home on the phone.
Yep.
Great role.
Her best
almost
role,
as good as her upcoming role as Love in Collateral Beauty,
and her upcoming role as temporarily employed phone answering lady.
And her upcoming role
briefly
as
employed phone answering lady.
Stand-in for Natalie Portman royalty.
Right. So that was her breakout role too. The Queen's decoy.
Then she bent it like Beckham.
So anyway, yeah, the whole Everest movie got me thinking about Everest, and I realized Blizzard Bear, his cabin is called Blizzard's Base Camp, and well, base camp wouldn't be at the at the top of the mountain or even in the middle of the mountain. Really, it's at the bottom of the mountain. So, holy shit, yeah, we never actually see. I got a text from Matt Cornah right now.
Oh, great timing, Matt. Given that he's in the chat as well.
Yeah, all caps, it says, "Is it possible to disrupt your show by having people who have your actual number text you during?" ? Yes, Matt.
Answer,
apparently,
yes.
Apparently it is.
We weren't answering his troll attempts in the chat, so you took it one further. Good on you. Somebody's drunk.
I don't think he's drunk. We just had a staff meeting an hour and a half ago, and he was completely sober, as far as I'm aware. Granted,
he gets it done quick. Butt chugging is efficient.
Yeah. Cameron Reigle, who's also a staff member and who's also in the chat, says that he remembers thinking it was conspicuous that there were only 2 snow levels in his snow world. But, loads of world/archetype ratios work that way. And it's true, but...
Yeah.
If K3 is supposed to be this massive mountain, it is a little conspicuous that there are only 2 snow worlds. And the first level of K3 is not a snow world.
No, but it's awesome.
It's awesome. This is our introduction to the cliff archetype, is it not?
It is.
It is.
Well, we've had cliffside kind of with the waterfalls, but not like cliff, straight up cliff.
Yeah, these are the cliffs, which are, I think, explicitly modeled after the American Southwest. They're craggy kind of, and maybe they could be modeled after certain areas in the Middle East. Like I'm thinking, like where they like Jordan and some other places, but I think the inspiration, more likely than not, is the American Southwest. What do you think? You actually live there, Nick? So
I do. I can't say that I walk outside and see crevice keepers, or is it creepers?
Crevice creepers.
Creepers, but I don't know. It certainly could be the Southwest, like a Grand Canyon-y type of thing. The color seems it would be more reddish, but
well, this is also supposed to be cold, so the first clip
is
stage,
true.
Again, Rare has always finely tuned their color scheme when reusing archetypes again and again to convey a different mood in each stage. So here, even though it's our introduction to the cliff stage, which really wouldn't be coming out fully until Razor Ridge, this is supposed to convey, it's getting colder, and these are kind of frosted over a little bit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the cliff archetype reminds me, and I think I mentioned this before, somewhere on DK Vine, be it a podcast or somewhere on the site. It reminds me of Chief Thunder's stage in the original Killer Instinct, and which was obviously the American Southwest, and was actually one of my favorite Killer Instinct stages on that drawbridge.
That music.
Yeah. So this also reminds me of that. And considering this team worked on the Killer Instinct SNES port, then maybe there is that inspiration there.
Very, very possible.
In Crevice Creepers, though, it's essentially you're jumping up and down the series of tight ropes that are fastened from one edge of the rock face to another, and because of that, there are clasps all about. Who I guess?
Yeah, I hope you like clasps because there's a lot of them in this level.
Yeah, I guess they are the Crevice Creepers that the name suggests. So
the Crevice Creepers meet their makers. Gotta get in to get out. Sorry.
It's alright. We'll just turn this show into Nick Prol's lounge hour, and you can just serenade the people for tips.
Nick Prol sings parodies of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway poorly.
I mean, it's not like the conversation is insular and weird enough as is. Let's just double down, triple down even.
Let's make it worse.
I don't have much to say about Crevice Creepers. As an introduction to the cliff stage and to K3, it had to pull double duty, and I think it did a serviceable job for both. I think it interesting that K3, the big snow world, didn't start with a snow level. That was that was an interesting choice, but
it's kind of like you have to climb to get to the snow or something.
But honestly, that's not completely out of left field. You look at K-Roll's Keep in Donkey Kong Country 2. It didn't start with a castle stage. You actually had to work your way up into the castle. So, same principle here, kind of.
Works for me.
Works for the Donkey Kong Country 3 team, so...
It's a great level. It's a great level.
Yeah. It's fine, but I think the more memorable level... Look how condescending I am. Yeah, it's fine. I could have done better, you know. I could have programmed a better stage than Crevice Creepers. Well, I think that's an amateur hour, but if I had one of them computer machines in front of me, I bet I could make the rendered monkey people run around in a fun place, and it would have been fun, and I would have been a video game developer then, and people would celebrate me, and they would...
Amateur hour goes on and on. Amateur hour, hello. Sorry.
Where's the tip jar that I could actually...
I'll just put it right here. Tearaway Toboggan.
That's just your tip. Anyway, Tearaway Toboggan. It's a snow stage. Hey, finally. It's also the second toboggan stage in the game. And this is a little bit more appropriate for the toboggan itself. By the way, did you know what a toboggan was when you first played Donkey Kong Country 3?
I did.
I mean, the terminology toboggan, it was actually new to me.
Toboggan or not toboggan? That is the question. I don't know.
Because for some reason, like, the terminology toboggan always referred to, I don't know, I thought it referred to an article of clothing. So,
Son, zip that up. Your toboggan's showing.
I was a dumb kid, apparently. So
maybe it's a hat you put on your noggin. It's a toboggan.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I would have just called this a sled had it not learned me properly. So this is essentially just the toboggan going through the snow archetype. But I like how the sky, it's almost night or practically night or just really, really super dark. But you've got this kind of black sky that's juxtaposed against the snowfall. I really like that.
Is this the first toboggan in the snow level?
Yeah.
Okay, because it was only in the pipeline before.
Only in the drain pipe before. So, I don't know. It's cool what they did again with the toboggan with the toboggan, because it was a variation on the minecart and roller coaster. By the way, we haven't even mentioned the news about... This would be a good time to bring up the potential Donkey Kong roller coaster that's coming to Universal Studios.
And the fact that Nintendo of America just tweeted today, who is your favorite Kong?
Really?
With a poll and everything.
Was Swanky on it?
No, it was Cranky, Dixie, Diddy, and Donkey. And Donkey, I think, is winning. Dixie's losing big time, but I voted for her. Simply out of DKC3 support, even though Cranky's probably my favorite if he held a gun to my head.
Okay, Nick, I'm going to hold a gun to your head, and I will shoot you.
Don't pull the trigger or anything. You can hold it there.
No. I'm going to murder you unless you tell me what your favorite Kong is.
Out of those four, Cranky Kong. But Dixie Kong is the underdog I want to support.
Diddy's always been my favorite, but you know what? I like all four of them.
Same.
So anyway, weird. Anyway, yeah, apparently the rumor mill, and the rumor mill being that the patents Universal has filed for new roller coasters in their park.
The rumor mill, is that in K3? Is that a mill level?
Yeah, it's weird they never tried to work in that pun somewhere. Maybe it's not weird, because what could they really do with it?
You gave me rumor.
Yeah, anyway, there's going to be a minecart roller coaster in Universal
Holy
Studios.
cow.
Now, here's the thing about the minecart roller coaster and the Universal discussion for the Super Nintendo World, which is, I believe, the official nomenclature they're going with. I made a bet with Mamechi, beloved Kongversation listener and frequent caller, that if Donald Trump won the election, he could be on the show. Because back in the spring, I thought...
Trump could be?
Well, I mean, I guess Trump could have a presidential decree and appear on the show if he wanted to.
I don't like ducks, okay?
I made a friendly wager off air with Mamechi that, sure, if Trump somehow won the election, defied all odds, Mamechi could appear on the Conversation.
All you have to do is play one of his calls and be like, there you go, you're on the show.
No. He's got to be on the show as a guest. So
I can't wait. I want to be here.
Obviously, Mamechi is a big Disneyland fanatic, and he's a theme park junkie. So the episode he's going to be on in early season 5 will be about Super Nintendo World. So
Fitting.
Look forward to that. Yeah. But I won't really get into it too much now, but it looks, according to the patent, looks very much like they're going to be doing a minecart roller coaster complete with the breaks in a track where the minecart jumps from one portion of the track to another. And it accomplishes this by essentially having two tracks. One track that the cart is actually connected to via a arm that you can't see, and the illusionary track that you think you're riding on that has the brakes in it that you jump over, but really you're actually connected to this track beneath you that you can't see. And this will create the simulated feeling that, oh my god, I'm on a minecart and we're leaping from one portion of the track to another, just like it is in Donkey Kong Country. So amazing if this is actually going to be what we think it is and what the experts think
it might
is.
Actually make me go to a theme park for the first time in my entire life.
You're kidding me. You've never been to a theme park?
Nope.
Like, there aren't any Six Flags in Arizona?
I might have been to Six Flags as like an embryo or something, but Never
That's
at
where
a.
you're conceived. You were conceived on Batman the Ride.
I was. Daffy took my mom aside and got despicable with her. But no. I mean, I might have been there when I was so young that I don't remember it. But at an age where I wanted to go to one, I never did.
All right. Well.
Pity me.
Yeah, I've been to several in my life. In Virginia here, we've got 2, King's Dominion and Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. So there's those, but then of
prefer
course
Trump Gardens myself.
Yeah, Busch Gardens is pretty low energy, really. And I've also been, to Florida a few times in my life. So I went to Universal Studios. Of course, before in Super Nintendo World, the big draw for me was Nickelodeon Studios.
Ah, yeah.
And that was like Mecca.
What about Legoland? Do you ever want to go there?
I've never been into Legos though. I've never gotten into Legos. Even when I was a young kid, I thought Legos were an amusing diversion, but I could never really get into it. And now it's a whole cottage industry of, you buy the sets, collectible sets. And
the plural is Lego.
I thought you were doing Donald Trump correcting me about Lego.
No, that sounds nothing like me, okay? I want the whole White House made out of gold Legos. And I want the bathroom to be made out of Bionicle.
Well, if this is true, it looks like Super Nintendo World is going to be like Mario themed, but there are going to be rides for other franchises. And if this is true, I would imagine the minecart ride would be interior. Like it would have to be one of those indoor roller coasters, which would increase the odds of all this other Donkey Kong paraphernalia, like statues and merchandise stands.
Imagine Kremling statues.
Well, there could even be crashes, Kremlins and other minecarts on this roller coaster. Who's to say? I mean, I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. But if this is true, then obviously DK Vine is going to have to make a pilgrimage. It's going to be a new mecca for us. So,
of course.
Looking forward to it. But that's down the road a bit. Let's get back to Donkey Kong Country 3. So much news this week, and we're stuck on these infernal spotlight episodes. Why did Donkey Kong Country 3 have to even come out 20 years ago?
For crying out loud.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else to say about Tearaway Toboggan. This was, I think, the most memorable toboggan stage, just by virtue of it being where it should be. But again, interesting that how the team introduces things, because the toboggan is introduced not in a snow stage, but in a drain pipe. Just like the cliffs are not introduced in the cliff world, but in the snow world. Just like the snow levels are not introduced in the snow world, but in the first world of the game. I don't know.
Go figure.
Something to think about. Barrel Drop Bounce is the third level of K3, and it is the, I believe, final waterfall level. I think I
possibly
might be wrong, but I might be right, but I might be crazy. So Barrel Drop Bounce, again, they changed the color scheme to kind of imply, it's like the waterfalls, but slightly colder. So they just have like more muted colors, and they kind of have like this frosted look. But this is
tips.
Frosted tips.
It's a regular Guy Fieri.
Does he really put frosting on his tip? I know he has unconventional cooking methods, but he really shouldn't be making cakes with his penis.
He shouldn't be, but he does.
That's why he is a disgusting piece of human filth, and also the most successful cook on the Food Network.
He's a cook?
Well,
I thought he just tasted stuff.
Oh, is he a cook? Is he not a cook? Doesn't he have restaurants?
I don't. He has restaurants, so he can eat there.
Like Guy Fieri's, America Chow or something, like the pig trough or something. I don't, whatever they call it.
The pig trough.
Guy
Fieri's muzzle of grub.
Is he really just a dude who eats? I've never actually.
I've never seen him cook. I've only seen him stick his fingers where they don't belong while someone's making something else, and
stick his tip.
Yeah, stick his frosted tip in people's turkeys and shove stuff in his mouth.
If you're right, and we have the whole of
he's probably a cook
at our fingertips. Let me look this up, because I thought he was a cook. Because if this is the case and he's not a cook, then why don't we get Andrew Zimmern is a chef, but he's mostly known for going around eating exotic penises.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he just open a penis restaurant?
Why not? Indeed.
All right, I'm looking up Guy Fieri here. I've got to know. Guy Fieri is an American. Is he not a cook? Does he just own restaurants? Fuck!
I think he wishes he was a cook, but...
Oh my god. Well, why the fuck is he famous then?
Because he eats stuff.
What? The skill level it takes to eat stuff.
It's the comments he makes after him. You know, he'll be like, "Oh, look at this right here. Oh, I'm right in Flavortown, baby. Ooh, yeah. Man, that's giving me a real smash mouth right there. Ah, yeah. Wish I could cook myself. Oh, is that food? Oh, you don't say. Well, in it goes."
I'm just going to sit back, just put the spotlight on hold, and allow you to be Guy Fieri for another hour and a half.
Oh, man. I really should go refrost my tips, but this donut's too good. Oh, man, I should really hike up my Jinko shorts. They're sliding down, but my hands are full of lasagna. Oh, I got a stain on my fire-branded t-shirt.
All right, I'm done.
You know what the cool thing about barrel drop bounce is? The barrels go down the waterfall. This is the gimmick of this stage.
Ooh.
And it's I think, inspired...
Is there a GoPro shot during it?
Yeah, Peter Jackson directed this one, and I remember watching it in the theater with my then girlfriend, now wife, and I said, "Is that a GoPro?"
There's water on the lens.
So yeah, this I think was inspired by Super Mario Brothers 2. The logs going down the waterfall. Of course, it's also inspired by people riding waterfalls down, in barrels. That infamous bit of tomfoolery that people do in real life and presumably die. But this is cool because you use the barrels as platforms, and you use barrels a lot as platforms in this game because
you do.
In Bazooka, it shoots them off in that stage in
You mean
Mechanos.
Bakuka?
Or is it Mechanos? I was calling it Mechanos last episode, but then it dawned on me, wait, is it supposed to be Mechanos?
Well, no one says it in game, so it's up to you how you want to say it.
Yeah, but isn't it like a pun on... never mind.
On
Anyway,
what?
On Greek island of... Anyway, never mind. Barrel drop bounce, I like it. It's... That's just my what I'm saying about all these levels. I like it. Let's move on.
Almost not even worth talking about. Next level.
Really? Yeah, it's almost like it's impossible to do 4 episodes about a game without running out of things to talk about. Go figure.
It's almost like we should summarize the worlds without going level by level, but we are completionists here, so
It's almost like 4 seasons of a show about Donkey Kong is pushing the limit of good taste.
Nah.
No. Guy Fieri hasn't bought us out yet. That would be pushing the limits of good taste, where Guy Fieri just samples each level, and I'll allow you to interpret that.
Are these bananas? Oh, this one has eyes and a beak. It's alive. Down the old windpipe.
Guy Fieri Kong would actually be a welcome addition to the family.
He probably would get along with Funky pretty well.
I'm sure he would win that Twitter poll, hands down.
Hey, guy, want to go to Flavortown? Hey, man, yeah, I like your style. You just need a button-up Hawaiian shirt with flames on it, bro.
Funky Kong would get them high, and then Guy Fieri would take care of the munchies for them.
They plan this huge picnic, and they're like, "All right, now Guy's gonna prepare the food he made, right, Guy?"
Oh, I don't make food. Oh.
I just own food.
Why don't I own this right here on this map? Why don't I own this?
In that case, maybe he would be a better Brothers Bear character.
Probably.
Guy Fieri Bear. Yeah.
Fieri Bear. He's in like a volcano level.
Crackshot Croc. No, we have something to talk about.
Yeah,
here.
now we got something to talk about.
So this is a gimmick that the Donkey Kong Country 3 team loved so much, they brought it back in Donkey Kong 64 in a terrifying fashion.
Get out!
Yes, with crosshairs. This is not necessarily crosshairs, though. This is... Because I think the implication for crosshairs was that it was more of an ancient, like, curse, a security system for the temple.
But you could believe it's the same thing, and if that's what's fun for you, it's really up to interpretation.
If it's what's fun for you, but I think this is more supposed to be just a Kremlin crew affiliated baddie trying to shoot you, and you seeing things from their perspective.
Which is cool. So it's a cool gimmick. And like we said,
it's a great gimmick.
It could be Carbine, it could be that never in-game robot guy from the promo art. It probably is Carbine. Bazooka. Yeah, it could be a bazooka. It's probably a Carbine. And in this level, in the bonus stage, you get to control it, which is interesting.
Control it being the crosshairs itself.
Yes, although some may say that you're controlling a Carbine, or a Carbine is helping you, thus becoming a bit of an animal buddy. But
no, Nick! No! I am putting an end to this. There are not animal buddies that are Niblas. There are not animal buddies that are Nids. There are not animal buddies that are Carbines. Those are baddies.
Well, I'm glad that your worldview of this universe allows you to have fun, Hyle. I'm glad.
No fun is allowed. Donkey Kong is serious business. Why aren't you wearing a tie, Nick?
Oh, I'm wearing a tie. It's underneath my flame Hawaiian shirt.
Donkey Konging is of the utmost serious importance.
That's true.
This isn't a job like being president. You actually have to have credentials and experience to Donkey Kong. God damn it, Nick. Yeah, I like the idea, though, like I said, that in that one bonus stage, you're actually still Squitter, and you're just in Carbine's contraption, and you get to control the gun. I think that was a fun bonus level, by the way, because that was...
You have to time it just right.
Yeah, it was the first instance of the Kongs using weaponry, which, again, this team seems to be especially fond of, considering not only did they introduce the weapons in Donkey Kong 64, not only did they make Funky Kong an arms dealer, but they also tried to have the weapons look realistic in that Donkey Kong had a double-barreled shotgun in an early build of the game, apparently mortifying Miyamoto to such a degree that he broke down in tears and cried underneath his bed. I'm making that part up, but you believed it for just a second.
Just a second. Yeah, I guess you'll have to pry the guns out of the DKC3 team's cold dead hands. Just watch, there'll be guns in Yooka-Laylee.
We'll see. I could see that being one of the transformations. They just, Yooka-Laylee are transformed into an Uzi.
I'd play it.
It's also interesting that this is a factory stage. Because in Donkey Kong Country, the original flavor, there were no factory stages outside of Kremkrock Industries. But here they do a lot better job about distribution, spreading out the archetypes. Because when you look back at the original Donkey Kong Country game, there was just a glut of caves and mines, something we discussed on the original Donkey Kong Country Spotlight series with me, Chad, and Joe Mudd. And yeah, they would confine a lot of archetypes to a single world. Snow was stuck in Gorilla Glacier, the one ice cavern stage, and factories were confined to Kremkrock. So I guess this is just an offshoot of Mechanos, or Mechanos, if you want to be proper. But yeah, I like that they just have this little branch off on the foothills of K3. Why not? Sure.
Now, I always think of DKC3 as the one that kind of mixed up archetypes no matter what world it is the most. But am I misremembering? Does DKC2 does that also, right? Like there'll be a random beehive level.
Yeah, they did it, although I don't think they did it as much as the DKC3 team, because you would still have things like K. Rool's Keep, like castle stages only being in K. Rool's Keep, or...
Which do you prefer? Because would you say it gets
like
stale, the same
Forest
kind of
only
level?
Being in Gloomy Gulch. I actually prefer mixing them up to an extent. I think Country 2 was perfection. I think Country 3 might get a little bit too adventurous with mixing it up, but it's never noticeable or bothersome. I think, honestly, Retro could have learned a lesson from it when making returns, because I felt like they stayed too safe in that they would just have a glut of archetypes per world there. The only reason it worked better there was they could do more than... It wasn't just the same static background and design elements. They reshaded and hid with gimmickry. Instead, Retro could design new things in each corner of each stage, even though the archetype would be the same. And of course, Tropical Freeze, they just perfected it, I think. But I still kind of miss, oh, hey, a Bramble stage. And then 2 worlds later, oh, hey, a Bramble stage. Cool. It's a Bramble stage again. So, I think Country 2 did it best, but Country 3 came really close.
Well said.
Was it? I think it
more
was
or
just
less.
said. I mean, I'm not as eloquent as Donald Trump or Guy Fieri, so I have to constantly criticize the way I speak.
True.
I'm not, smart.
That makes sense.
Lemguin Lunge, which sounds like a porno, and if I had my way, would be. But unfortunately, it's just the next stage of K3, and this is the Lemguins. This is their party, where that's the gimmick. It's a snow stage, and Lemguins pop out of holes and slide down hills and eventually go down into pits. Hence the lemming part of their name.
Now, you were telling me that lemmings don't actually do this.
They don't actually commit mass suicide, no. It's a misconception, mostly spurred on by a Disney documentary about, I believe, like Alaska, or it was some nature documentary, but they, because this misconception actually existed before the documentary, but it was really cemented in the public consciousness because the producers drove the lemmings off the cliff.
Wow.
The misconception exists because when lemmings migrate, sometimes they jump off cliffs into the water, but it wasn't like suicide, or sometimes like they do die, but it wasn't on purpose.
Well, that's cleared up.
Yeah. So anyway, but lemguins, I guess, do commit suicide. So, but hey, they're not actually lemmings. They're penguins who commit suicide.
Plus,
so
they've got nothing
it's
to
fine.
live for, so it's okay.
No, they don't. They really, really don't. And now, granted, it's my theory that Courtney Love has murdered each and every lemguin.
Every single one.
The jury's still out on that. And plus, we can't dismiss the contributions Hole made to grunge. Before we move on to Bleak, do you want to talk about Blizzard Bear at all?
No. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I do. Blizzard Bear. He's a Jake Gyllenhaal of sorts.
Yeah, of sorts.
With I'm sure he's got his own Keira Knightley on the phone waiting for him somewhere, but some temporary.
He's got a brother Blue who apparently he's the only brother who cares about Blue to the point that he bought him a birthday gift, even though
is Blue his brother or just his best friend?
Well, all the brothers Bear are brothers.
Or are they just brothers but not each other's brothers?
I'm pretty sure they're all brothers from the same mother.
That they all are like different species of bear.
No, I think they're all supposed to be the same species of bear.
They just dye their fur.
And
their fur.
They're Fieri.
Yeah.
You're just stuck on the frosted tip.
Sorry.
No, well, maybe it was just genetic variations in their fur color. Maybe, hey, my parents named me Blue. I've got to dye my fur blue. Hey, I'm a bear who likes to climb in the snow. I wish I was a polar bear. Better dye my hair white.
Now, I was looking at, Bazooka Bear? He's the one with the mustache, right?
Brigadier Bazooka
Brigadier,
Bear, yes.
yeah. And I was thinking about how fake the mustache kind of looked like it was just taped onto him. And I was like, what if all the brothers Bear are the same guy, and he just runs from place to place, setting up shop and switching or dyeing his fur or changing his outfit?
That would be a soul-crushing revelation. And
it's all just Bear.
Maybe the brothers Bear are all they all have the same father, but they all have different mothers. Maybe it's like Willy Loman, the traveling salesman who just impregnated like women all across the northern hemisphere, and that's how they're brothers. But they seem to have different traits that seem to suggest they're not of the same family.
That makes sense.
I think it makes sense.
For sure.
Anyway, yeah, Blizzard Bear bought his brother Blue a bowling ball, even though Blue doesn't bowl. So completely thoughtless, completely self-absorbed, but then he got stuck. He got avalanched in and completely worthless. I think it's interesting, though, that Blizzard Bear, like, and all the Brothers Bear, really, they just know Dixie and Kitty as they walk in. Oh, how you doing, Dixie and Kitty? It's like, how do you guys know Dixie and Kitty? Like you've never met them.
It's still better to me than in games where they introduce themselves when they're supposed to have already known them.
I guess, yeah. I mean, Dixie, I guess they could have heard about her exploits during Donkey Kong Country 2 and Land 2, but Kitty? I mean, unless the legend of Kitty was already spreading
for
far
instance,
and wide.
that annoys me more.
What, oh, well...
Like, hey,
yeah,
my name's
Banjo
Bottles. Nice to meet you. We have a framed photo of you in our living room.
I always fandoming that away that Tootie just gave them that. Oh, here's a framed picture of my friend, and Banjo's too much of a spineless...
Let's put it on the wall.
Like, goody two-shoes. Oh, I love this, Tootie. I'm gonna put this on the wall. Thank you for the picture of this mole I've never met.
I'll link to it nightly. And then when he finally meets Bottles, he has such guilt. He's like, oh, should I tell him? Nah.
It makes it hotter if it's my little secret. You notice I immediately did the Bill Clinton.
Yeah,
I switched from Banjo to Bill Clinton as soon as we sexualized it. All right, well, Bleak. Let's move on to Bleak. The cackling snowman.
The Dickensian cackling snowman.
Yeah, Bleak's house. This is a pun I fully admit to not getting until college.
Of course.
Because we didn't read much Charles Dickens in public school, so.
Speaking of,
but once I
Charles,
oh, okay. You want to talk about Dickens? Go ahead.
Oh, just Cameron's recent artwork is really good. Oh, well, that's a little hint.
So, yeah, Bleak's House. I have to admit, when I first learned of the Dickens novel Bleak House, I got very excited because I was like, that's what Bleak's House means.
I get it.
I meant. Yeah. So this is a unique boss fight in that it is the pseudo 3D perspective of the target gallery in Swanky Sideshow, except now you're throwing snowballs and you have to throw it at Bleak's flashing thing on his tie, which I always
it's the chaos. It's part of chaos energy or whatever you call it, or Kremlin KAOS Kore.
Kremlin source energy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I always took that to be a little piece of the Kremlin source power that basically brings Bleak to life.
Animates snow.
It's like Frosty's magic hat, except in this case it's the whatever mystical earth energy that Diddy and Dixie snuffed out in the last game.
It turns them into 2 balls of frozen snow, which is what they prefer to be called over snowmen.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have been so insensitive. I've just been layering the microaggressions on the snow-based...
Nay, macroaggressions even.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, with my white privilege, and granted, snow people are white as well, so... unless they've been urinated on, but, you know, we shouldn't discriminate against them either. Oh, God.
Don't you eat that yellow snow.
That's a Frank Zappa reference, and I know that!
Yay!
So anyway, so Bleak is, I think, for me, as far as memorable bosses, there's Eric, who is memorable just because he was featured
Trump's
in the marketing campaign. Right. Who also...
Because he shot Ellie?
Right, yeah, he wants to murder wild animals. And there's Squirt, who is just fucking weird. And
Lives in
then
your nightmares.
there's Bleak, who is an evil
Belcha.
snowman. Well, there's Belcha, of course. Of course there's Belcha. There's so many iconic bosses in this game, but Bleak is the one I always go back to because he's the first evil snowman in the Donkey Kong universe. He
True.
predates Sir Slush by about a year and a half.
You should really be called Sir Bleak. I mean, it's only fair.
And of course there's the laughter. The infamous laughter. That's more Jack Nicholson from the end of Batman 1989. But it's...
And then when he dies, it goes.
Yeah. And it's just infectious, and it sticks in your head. And, yeah.
He reminds me of Clay Fighter for some reason.
Yeah, there was a snowman in Clay Fighter, was there not?
Yeah, there was.
Another thing about Bleak, did you notice he also has human fleshy eyes?
Oh, that's scary. And doesn't he kind of have like a weird, almost like a bandit's mask on?
Yeah. And another weird just design choice of this team.
And he has
like
cufflinks.
Yeah, like is he wearing a suit?
It's like
over
just
his
cufflinks.
Again,
The
weird,
cuffs are enough.
weird art from I presume Mark Stevenson, but I like it. I just don't fully understand it. I've always wondered, is Bleak wearing a white shirt, like a long sleeve shirt, over his snow self, or what's going on here?
Who knows?
Because when he blows up at the end, you don't see a shirt falling off.
You certainly don't. You don't see cuffs go flying either.
No. Now, granted, that might have just been graphical limitations, but...
Sure.
Who's to say? Anyway,
But where are the cuffs? Where are the cuffs?
let's move on to Razor Ridge. World 6.
Now, my question about this one, archetype, is... So we went from like, ooh, a mountain, to now a mountain? Or what is the archetype of this one, would you say?
More canyon-esque and cliff sides?
So it basically takes the first level of K3 and makes a whole world out of it?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I think they had this world archetype figured out before they decided to put a cliff stage in K3. But yeah, I think this is more, it's supposed to be kind of non-snowy mountainous, but a canyon and craggy cliff sides. And also caverns, because this is the first cavern stage in the game. 6-1 is Buzzer Barrage. And not only is this the introduction to Donkey Kong Country 3's caverns, which have their own unique look. What I appreciate about these caverns are the shiny stalactites, which are the ones on the ground, because they have a G in them. Stalactites. Stalactites are the ones on the ceilings, because they have a C in them.
Good little mechanism for remembering.
Mnemonic device there that I learned in grade school, and it's stuck with me ever since. So this is also the second appearance of a purple parrot animal buddy in the game, second and last appearance, and because of that, I like to refer to this purple parrot not as Quawks, but Squawk, the second purple parrot. So Mario Wiki, you are wrong when you say it's Quawks. I know, because I checked. You're wrong. Shame on you. You don't like Donkey Kong as much as me. So yeah, what do you think about the cave designs in Country 3? Because caverns didn't really appear in Country 2, did they? They had the mines, which had cavern elements, but for the most part, Country 2 kind of backed away from the caverns after the team overdid the caverns in the first Country game.
You'd say they overdid it?
Yeah, they definitely overdid it. I feel like they ran out of time in Donkey Kong Country 1, and that's why they just had so many fucking caverns. And I think Chimp Caverns were supposed to be a lava stage, like this volcanic interior, and they had to cut it for time because they didn't have time to develop the lava stages, so they just made more caverns.
I like the archetype in this one. It's a good change of pace.
Yeah, they're a lot more colorful as caverns. They're not as...
Really? I was going to say they're kind of brown.
Well, a colorful brown. There's subtle variances in brown, Nick. There's not just brown. There's light brown. There's nuance. This is shiny.
Well, I don't see
brown.
color, so yeah.
That's true. Yeah, because you see everybody as invisible people because you
bumping into people every day, which is more
Yes.
offensive than being racist even.
you live in an enclave of universal monsters, so you live with the Invisible Men. And
I do actually.
yeah, if you would just go to the Black Lagoon, you would finally see some other types of
Good old
creatures.
Gil.
So yeah, these are kind of shiny brown caverns with huge stalactites, and I don't know. I like that they were able to take a tried and true and tired type of stage and do something a little bit visually interesting with them. But
Yeah, I
Buzzer
dig.
Barrage. The thing about Buzzer Barrage is that there are buzzes everywhere, and Squawk. Since Squawk, I should point out because I did point this out in the last episode. Quawks and Squawk, they have been upgraded from the last game because before they could just kind of waft down. They couldn't even fly up, but they had no attacks. They just went downwards. Here,
Wow.
they've gotten stronger. They can fly up and down, and they can lift barrels with their
Damn.
talons. So yeah, they're actually more formidable in this game, but they still can't shoot eggs like Squawks. So the gimmick of Buzzer Barrage is you have to navigate this buzz-filled cavern with Quawks, and you can only clear your way by utilizing barrels and kegs. So you have to kind of... And then there's, of course, the red buzzes. They can't be knocked out at all, so fun.
Very.
Confused Cliffs is the second cliff stage.
Yeah, we're back on ropes again on cliffs.
His second level of Razor Ridge, and this is honestly a pretty nice gimmick in that you're going up a slowly burning rope.
Sounds like my life.
Right.
Although I think it's pronounced Bjorning rope.
Fuck you. I should slap your face off for that one. If only you were not 2 time zones away.
It's possible. I've heard it being done.
You've heard of it being done, really?
Yeah.
Like what? Like through poltergeist activity? Because that's the only way that you could be smacked through a phone line.
I don't know.
I'm
I
sure
think
that happened.
Lanky could probably do it.
Oh yeah, Stretch Armstrong. Yeah, until he snaps and the corn syrup just goes everywhere.
Oh. You remember that too, huh?
I actually never broke my Stretch Armstrong. I was always very careful with him.
I don't think I broke mine, but I saw other people break theirs.
Yeah, I had friends who just... I like immediately went to town on their Stretch Armstrong as if it were a fleshlight, which I know what they're really doing with it. Come on.
Look, a buff shirtless guy. I'm gonna fuck it.
Let me put a hole in there. Oh no! It went everywhere and I don't think it was mine.
Oh no.
Actually, I was in the early 90s, or early to mid 90s.
Kids get this.
No, because Stretch Armstrong, I think, is like a 70s toy, but they brought Stretch Armstrong back in the early to mid 90s, and they gave him a whole like line of friends and enemies that you could buy. And they had his dog, and they also had these weird aliens that he teamed up with called the Vac Pack. And instead of being filled with this viscous liquid, the Vac Pack, they were filled with these beads. And you could pump the top of them, and they would stiffen. So they went from flaccid to stiff. And then when they were stiff, you could yank on them. And boy, I'm really surprised that the whole Stretch Armstrong line of toys didn't just provide a frustrated sexual outlet for burgeoning pubescent children everywhere.
How do you know it didn't?
Well, it didn't for me, because I was always very careful with my toys. And I did not molest any of them.
And you weren't sexually awakened until last week.
Yeah, it just finally clicked. And now I need to check the flea markets to see. I guess you don't want to check flea markets for Stretch Armstrong figures if you're going to violate them sexually.
You don't want fleas down there.
No, you really don't. what's it? Confused Cliffs, burning rope, and you have to go up the burning rope before it catches up to you. It's what I like about the Donkey Kong Country games is they really always follow these cemented tropes in serials, in old adventure, movies and novels,
sure.
and kind of like dime store novels, and they're just something very elemental about them, something that's ingrained in the popular consciousness about
adventure.
Yeah, about adventure and all the tropes and trappings that come with them. And I like how they just tick them all off. Mine carts, burning ropes, riding a green parrot through thickets of bramble. All the old standbys.
It's like romancing the banana.
Right, and the sequel. What was the sequel called?
Jewel of the Nile, of the crocodile.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was hoping you would fix that into a proper pun. So every Donkey Kong Country game has that stage that's in total darkness. Well, I should say every one of the original trilogy, because there have been 2 more since then. They have a stage that's in pretty much total darkness that you have to illuminate yourself in some way. So Torchlight Trouble was in the first one, which was Squawk's debut, where he held a flashlight for you, which was kind of rudimentary and really didn't have much thought behind it.
But it was a good starting point.
Yeah, neither did Glimmer's Galleon, where the same principle applied, except you were underwater and Glimmer the anglerfish followed you. But I really feel like this team did the idea justice with the next stage, Floodlit Fish. And which is also really weird because I always want to say floodlight fish, but it's floodlit.
Like we said, this team didn't have to waste any time coming up with a lot of the level ideas that were already present in the others. They had time to perfect them and do really clever things with them.
Absolutely, and I think this is where it actually is beneficial to have one team kind of create the whole concept for the series and then perfect it their way with the second one, and then the third game hand it off to another team with the template already built and see what they can do. Which is why I'm really hoping if Retro doesn't make a third Donkey Kong Country game, they hand the reins to Monster Games, because Monster's already proven they can take what Retro started and make some pretty awesome stages. So I would be really excited to see what they can do with an entire game. But Floodlit Fish, I think, perfects the whole dark level concept, because there's actually strategy involved here. It's another underwater stage, and you're in guard for most of the time, but you have to find the Gleamin' Breams, which are kind of like bounty bass, except instead of giving you prizes, you have to stab them, and they will exhibit bioluminescence and essentially radiate light around themselves, allowing you to see, but only for a limited time, so you have to constantly stab them. And it, again, sounds very sexual, but it is not. It is very chaste. And actually, now that I think about it, this team might have been inspired by the Donkey Kong Land 2 team, which reworked Glimmer's Galleon into a similar concept, where instead of having Glimmer, they had to have light barrels that were only on for a limited time. So they might have been inspired there a little bit, but this is the proper Donkey Kong Country series debut of it. And I like that instead of just having light barrels, they worked in bioluminescence. Which
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a cool thing. Granted, Gleamin' Breams look ridiculous and look like they look like they're blowjob machines.
Oh,
but
Hyle.
I mean, they got big lips.
They're regular Stretch Armstrong over here.
Floodlit Fish. It was kind of unnerving at times, but especially because that music and just because there people do have this phobia of being deep underwater in pitch blackness.
Really, that's my fetish.
Your fetish is immediately drowning
while being covered in electric eels and anglerfish
and blowjob fish.
Oh, those some mad DSL lips, man.
Yeah, that is the ultimate autoerotic asphyxiation.
Death by eel.
Yeah, well, I mean, drowning underwater while,
One
having
could call
fish
my
go to town.
career in comics death by a eel.
Yeah, yep. Your career as an artist ended whenever you came up with Archduke Ferdinand.
Yep, all credibility out the window.
Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah,
Some
autoerotic
stupid thing from
asphyxiation.
DKC3.
Can I turn this into a David Carradine joke? I've
Too
weighed my
soon,
options,
too
and
soon.
I've determined I've already missed my window. So
Yeah.
I could have worked it in. I could have worked Kung Fu in. I could have worked
Now
it
you
around
could have
somehow.
You could have worked in if this was Tropical Freeze because there is a grasshopper enemy.
That's true. I could have also made a Simpsons reference when I was talking about getting orally pleasured by fish, and
Oh, I
reference
love that
Troy
show. I love
McClure.
Mr. Bjorns. He's great.
Moving on to the next cavern stage. It's Pothole Panic.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Pothole Panic, it's this is where Kachuka, right? Kachuka?
Yeah.
This is where Kachuka is found. And the gimmick of Pothole Panic though is not Kachuka. It is
Kasuka.
that's again Gleeman Breen. This is this game's version of Animal Antics from Donkey Kong Country 2, and that every I think rideable animal buddy sans the purple parrots are included. What are they? Squawks? You've got Ingard, you've got Ellie, and you've got Squitter. And does Perry appear in this stage? I don't think Perry appears in this stage. No, I don't think Perry appears. That would.
I don't know about you. I might be alone here, but the second half of DKC3, even though it's my favorite in the series, doesn't stick in my head quite as much as the first half.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, and I think it's partly. I think it's because they spread out the archetypes so much that they only had a few more to go around by the time you got to the last half. At least that's my theory.
And maybe I've just started the game so many times since I first played it, but I've never finished it every time. Maybe it just.
Yeah, I also
with the other levels before, I couldn't imagine most of every nook and cranny of them, but now it's getting a little bit more hazy for me.
Yeah, it's falling down the pothole of your brain.
Yeah, but that's where you come in.
I also think the fetch quest kind of RPG elements on the map, there is a lot of backtracking at this point, so
True.
You're constantly going back, and maybe that has more to do with reinforcing the earlier parts of the game versus the latter parts, but I don't know. But yeah, Pothole Panic, not only is it the animal antics of Donkey Kong Country 3, which I really like, because I like when animal buddies team up in this, or at least trade off like this. The animal buddies are one of my favorite elements of Donkey Kong in general, and one of the sorely lacking aspects of the retro games, and the pay-on games for that matter. I mean, they've been underutilized since Donkey Kong 64. Rare dropped the ball initially in that game by only having Rambi, Ingard, in one world, by the way. Rambi in one world, Ingard in one world. Then there was Glower the Tadpole, and Squawks is kind of your weird spirit guide. But I really wish whoever gets their mitts on the series would do the animal buddies justice. Ironically enough, Jungle Beat is the only game since Donkey Kong Land 3 to do the animal buddies fully justice, even if it wasn't the animal buddies we all know and love. It was a bunch of replacements. The B team, no offense to Hoofer, Orko, and the two flying squirrels, Flurl and Sky, and the Hellabirds. But where was I? Anyway, Pothole Panic. This is also, should be pointed out, it's really weird that the color scheme of the cavern is purple, which matches the Kachuka, so I'm glad they color coordinated for the occasion. Purple caverns, it makes me think they're grape flavored, and I want to lick the stalactites, which I've lived most of my life, in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and that is so many caverns, prime cavern territory there. So you have like
grape caverns.
There are not, but they tell you whenever you tour a cavern, don't touch anything because the oils in your skin can damage the stalactites.
Yes, I've gone to quite a few caverns here, and they say the same thing.
but they never say anything about not licking them. So I don't know if they're actually grape flavored or not.
There's only one way to find out.
We got like some stalactites, Nick.
I've been doing it my whole life.
Wait, you just said you didn't. Okay, never mind. Wait, what? What?
You haven't yet.
Okay. Ropey rumpus, which again sounds vaguely erotic. It sounds like something that would involve a lot of tying and binding.
Some sort of show about a fat British constable running around to the Benny Hill music.
Welcome to Ropey Rumpus. I do say.
Actually, I imagine that's what Brigadier Bazooka Bear might sound like.
Ropey Rumpus, what?
Whoa! I just thought about it. Is Brigadier Bazooka Bear, is he modeled after the British wartime recruitment poster?
Remind me what that looks like.
It's a dude in a mustache pointing.
Oh,
it's like
yes.
It's like
their Uncle Sam.
Yeah, it's like their Uncle Sam. I want you.
Could be. I know he speaks Britishly.
Well, that's a fair assumption to make.
He says, "I left me something."
I'm pretty sure at least the mustache is modeled after that dude. Just dawned on me. All right. Well, Ropey Rumpus. It's another cliff stage. I believe not the final cliff stage because they come into play in Krematoa. But this is another one where there's the tightly bound ropes between each cliff face, and you have to scale it. And I don't really have anything to really say about Ropey Rumpus.
Ropey Rumpus.
Yeah, although Perry the Parallel Bird is in this stage, and you've got to get and I remember Perry. It's really hard to keep Perry with you. And but if you do, he turns into a bonus barrel here. This is where he infamously turns into a bonus barrel, which is a weird visual, but it's one of the more challenging bonus barrels to get because it's not like
because it makes no sense.
Well, it's not like you can just lose Perry and then you have to restart the stage, essentially. And Perry's after the letter N, so if you complete the stage, then you have to get past the star barrel. Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from Ropey Rumpus.
It's quite a takeaway.
All right, let's talk about the boss, Nick, of Razor Ridge. And that's, should we talk about Benny and Bjorn. Let's talk about Benny and Bjorn.
Why not?
Two brothers bear for the price of one, named after the male members of ABBA.
Mamma mia.
And they run the chairlifts. And the one chairlift is working, the other chairlift is not. You have to get the wrench. You have to trade for the wrench with, I think, Barter Bear to get the wrench to fix the chairlift. And then they'll take you up to a banana bird cave.
Those are some good guys, those Benny and Bjorn.
I think out of the pantheon of Brothers Bear, they're some of the more notable ones just because
they fit with the whole aesthetic.
Well, they're actually wearing Germanic clothing. And they look properly.
Hell, I've dressed up like Bjorn for this whole 4-part series, so.
And you haven't washed your lederhosen since.
No, like I said, they're itchy.
They're itchy, and I bet they really smell at this point, too.
Yeah, they smell like a shiny brown hole. Barbos. I would say Barbos, but I think British people say Barbos.
Well, and also he's a boss, so I thought that was the pun. Apparently, the pronunciation of anything in this game is up in the air, and we can't suss it out. And it's really hard as an American too in 1996 because you didn't have many reference points for a lot of these things. I didn't have any British friends at this point, so it's not like I had anybody to tell me that we were interpreting these names or places wrong. And it's only then years later, after you've been calling something its name that you came up with it for years, and then somebody will tell you, hey, creme quay is not a thing, you asshole.
Is that how they said it? That's not very nice.
I think it was Joe Mudd who set me straight about creme key, But yeah. Here, keys are spelled K-E-Y. We have the Florida keys. And
Yes.
we don't have the Florida quays. So, Barbos. It is a giant lurchin. And unlike a lot of the, let's just take an enemy type and make them big. There's, a lot of that in Donkey Kong Country 1.
No, they also add crazy bloodshot eyes.
Yeah. Well, it feels a lot more creative. The bosses
For sure.
are. This is the game where the bosses, I think, are at their peak in the original 3 games. But
That's why it's my favorite.
You fight Engard or you fight as Engard
Yeah.
in this boss stage, making him the 3rd animal buddy that participates in a boss fight after Squawks in DKC2 and Ellie against Squirt earlier in the game. And you have to basically stab lurchins into the fleshy pink underbelly of Barbos.
Into Kitty?
Not Kitty, no. Although apparently their complexions are eerily similar.
Ugh.
And this is reminiscent of, I think, the King Zing battle in Country 2, just because you're an animal buddy and there's smaller versions of the drone in play, or of the drone type in play. But there's also the little twats that shoot out of Barbos that Matt Cornah named, and they're one appearance in the game.
Oh, they don't appear in any of the levels, huh?
I don't believe so, no.
Wow, little twats indeed.
Call in 1-281-410-KONG to tell me how wrong I am.
Help Hyle find the twat in the other levels.
I've never seen my own.
I don't think you have one. You're a man.
That would explain it. I studied my Stretch Armstrong doll for hours and I couldn't find his, so...
No.
KAOS Kore.
Dun,
World
dun, dun,
7.
dun. Where do I leave the tip?
I don't know. Not my twat, that's for sure.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Conveyor rope clash.
What were you singing? Was that Donkey Kong Game Boy?
Yeah, well, that was from Donkey Kong, because
okay.
You did the dun 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 dun.
Oh, good point. I wasn't even thinking that was Donkey Kong related. You're right.
Yeah, that's where my mind went.
As
Hey,
it should. I thought you hated the arcade games.
I don't hate the arcade games.
I thought you spit upon the graves of kids who like those games.
Of kids, yeah, because it's so what the kids are into nowadays.
Kids who died young in the 80s, you go to their graves, you go on a tour of their graves across the country and spit on each one, and then leave a tie on each one.
I don't hate the arcade games. I just prefer the country games.
I know, I'm just kidding.
But apparently that makes me a villain. I know I Am Gibbon is in our Patreon live stream right now.
That's why I'm just pushing the stereotype.
You are. I hope he's happy that I referenced the arcade games. So, KAOS Kore is, I guess, the equivalent of K. Rool's Keep in this game.
Correct.
But I think it's interesting, too. What is this castle? Because this castle seems to be... Obviously, there's a Castle Frankenstein aesthetic here, which I guess...
which I love.
Yeah, and it kind of alludes or hints to the mad scientist behind Chaos. But this is a Kremlin-owned castle that's in the Northern Hemisphere, so I only imagine this is from when the Kremlins owned this territory, and this is from way back when whoever the Kremlin king was back in those days had this as a secondary retreat. That's my fanon explanation for it. Who's to say?
Who knows?
Besides Rare.
It's very Transylvanian looking too.
Or Germanic. I mean, Frankenstein. He was German, wasn't he?
I think I should know that.
You should know that. So anyway, yeah, I guess the more I think about it, the more apropos then the whole Baron K. Roolenstein thing is. So KAOS Kore, though, it's the last world of the game minus the Lost
Astros.
World.
Yeah.
Yeah. And granted, you can unlock Krematoa as soon as you can essentially ride around the 4 rocks on the map screen, circle them, and raise it. But it'll take a while to unlock all of these stages. So for all intents and purposes, that is the last stage. But KAOS Kore, I always want to say Castle Chaos, but the KAOS Kore does introduce a new archetype, and it's jungles. Yes, this game actually has jungles, and
not until the last world.
Yeah, well, what's also interesting is, as a young child playing this game, I did not realize that these were jungles, or these were supposed to be jungles. I thought these were just different, like, forest. But yeah, these are actually this game's jungles, and they're not as tropical looking. They're the more you look at it, yeah, you can kind of see it. But I think these are supposed to be jungles of a cooler climate, subtropical jungles. And I love that, Donkey Kong Country 2 didn't have jungles until the Lost World, so I like the audaciousness of that. Because, you associate jungle stages with Donkey Kong Country. And I almost wish the team would have said, no, we don't need jungle stages in our game. It's all temperate, but they succumb to the temptation. And it's I guess it's interesting to see what they did with it, but it's not as memorable as Country 1 or Country 2. Country 1 had those very inviting, awesome-looking jungles with the plasticky palm trees, and Country 2 had the dangerous, overgrown, death-trap jungles with the skulls on the spikes. These jungles are just kind of here, and they're a little overgrown. It's kind of just like a blend of the two. They're there. I don't know.
It works.
Yeah, there's little ruins, I guess, strewn throughout. But the gimmick of Conveyor Rope Clash are the conveyor ropes, which they're ropes that move you forwards. And of course, there's lots of obstacles in the way with buzzes and what have you. So you just have to evade them.
That's what you gotta do.
That's what you gotta do. I have more to say about Creepy Caverns, in that this is back to the cavern archetype and the introduction of ghost barrels. Which, what the fuck?
Ghost barrels.
Ghost barrels, on our forum, we actually use ghost barrel imagery whenever we close. Yeah, we close a topic because, hey, you kids, stop talking about the politics. Ghost ropes were in Donkey Kong Country 2. These take the same concept. They just make them barrels. And, let's face it, ghost ropes were pretty damn weird. And that was on the last team. So, at least these are more thematically appropriate for Donkey Kong. I'm not sure what the fuck these are supposed to actually be. Who would design a barrel like this? Like, I want to know, like, what were they thinking at the barrel factory? Okay, I've got this great idea for a barrel. It's a barrel that disappears. And it serves no purpose.
Wonder Woman can put stuff in it, I guess.
Well, they're barrel cannons, essentially, but they flicker in and out.
Yeah.
So you have to time it just right, and of course they'll put traps, like buzzes again, where buzzes can be right underneath a ghost barrel. So you've got to jump,
be on your toes,
time your jumps. I'm a ghost barrel.
Oh no, Ghost Dad.
Yeah, because how could Bill Cosby be even more dangerous? By being intangible. Yeah, anyway, ghost barrels, they're weird. I'm sure somebody would suggest that they are the ghost of barrels you've destroyed, but they're barrel cannons, so I don't know if that would work, because barrel cannons didn't really blow up too much in the first 3 Donkey Kong Country games. That was more of a retro invention.
So maybe they were playing some DKC3.
Probably. Well, they did play Donkey Kong Country 3 to get inspiration, and they actually took inspiration from a lot of things. I don't know if they ever took inspiration from ghost barrels, though.
You never know.
They should have. And honestly, there should be just a game called Ghost Barrels. And it's you can't like interact or play with it. It's just level after level of watching ghost barrels flicker in and out. And the more you sit there motionless, the better you do.
That would be fun.
See, I'm a great game developer.
Miyamoto ain't got nothing on you.
Miyamoto's a hack fraud compared to me. I'm coming up with the best ideas for the best games. The best. Lightning Lookout. This fucking stage. People hate this stage.
Do they now? Oh yeah, this is infamous.
Yeah. This is. I don't think they don't hate it because it's a bad stage. They hate it because it's challenging. Now, granted, it's easy to get through once you learn how to look for the lightning, but it's still kind of nerve-wracking. The lightning will kind of peek down a little bit, boop, and then. So, and they actually reused this concept in Tropical Freeze in the storm levels in that game, where the little lightning peeks down and gives you a warning before it blasts down. Which is not the way I don't think lightning actually works.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
I've been struck by lightning 17 times in my life, Nick. I think eventually I would have caught on that you would have a warning. Now, granted, I should stop wearing rain jackets made out of weather vanes and, large metal poles, but,
No, this isn't a swirlwind warning situation, is it?
Well, in what way?
Well, you just said it's a warning and it's relating to weather, and that was a big fuck up, so.
Oh, no. Well, swirlwind warning had the weird, plastically looking tornadoes. There are no tornadoes here, but one theory about the lightning is that it's actually being generated from Castle Chaos. This K. Rool has those electrical diodes. And
yeah.
So I think Chad was the one who first suggested that to me, and I'm sure I had the idea, but maybe I dismissed it. I was like, it's probably natural lightning, but the more I think about it, the only thing that might argue against that point now, it's that Tropical Freeze had the same dynamic with the lightning, and obviously there's nobody generating that lightning in that game. It was actually a real storm, so maybe that speaks against it. I don't know, but maybe that was the intention of the team, that K. Rool was shooting lightning at you in Lightning Lookout.
I'd buy it.
I did buy this game. I bought it for the Super Nintendo, I bought it for the Game Boy Advance, and then I bought it again for the Virtual Console. I bought it 3 times.
Very nice. For the Virtual Console on 3DS or Wii U?
I don't have the new 3DS yet.
Nor do I.
Because I'm a poor, young country boy. No, actually, I got married, and money's tight right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah. My freewheeling bachelor days are over, Nick.
Plus, the Switch is going to kill the 3DS anyway.
Yeah, it's going to kill Nintendo's only profitable system.
That's a good tactic.
Instead of having 2 profitable systems, let's just have 1. What could go wrong? Coin Dozer Clamber is the second jungle stage and the one and only appearance of Coin Dozers, which are like coins, except they're purple, which means they're grape flavored, as we all know. And instead of hoarding hero coins in their trash can lids, they instead try to push you off ledges with their trash can lids. They don't jump, they just run towards you and essentially slide you off. And
sons of bitches.
They're persistent little fuckers, I'll give them that. I like that they were able to take the concept of coin and say, well, for one stage, let's do something different with the general design of this baddie. And it's something this team is good at. And again, these one-off gimmicks that they definitely give each level a lot of uniqueness and life that they wouldn't otherwise have. And it's something that really, Retro has been able to do simply with the advent of technology. And, they're fucking awesome, video game developers. But,
yeah.
Obviously, Donkey Kong Country 3 team had much more limited resources to work with. So I think it's cool that they were able to do so much with comparatively so little.
For sure.
Coin Dozers are... I really want to lick them too. I'm really just craving grapes right now. Maybe I need to tour wine country. Trump Winery is only an hour and a half away from where I'm living right now.
Yes, I remember.
So, I don't know.
Maybe you need to take a trip with your morbidly obese mom and your developmentally challenged little brother.
What?
Gilbert Grape.
Oh, okay. See, I did not make that connection. I thought you were just saying my mom was fat and that my non-existent sibling was mentally challenged. And I was like, These are really weird insults, but I am strangely offended by them.
How dare you say that about my non-existent brother?
No, I say we hold the Kongversation at Trump Winery.
Let's do it. Screwed Super Nintendo World.
Better start sucking up to Trump right now on Twitter. That's Chad's job. Poisonous Pipeline is the final stage, regular stage of KAOS Kore, and it's another
End of
pipe
the game.
stage.
Not
Well,
including
not
the
really.
Lost World.
Yeah, but we're going to include the Lost World. This is another pipe stage, but it's an underwater pipe, and it's another weird chemical stage as well. So, in Poisonous Pipeline, oh god, this stage was so hard. Your controls are reversed when you're underwater because you're swimming in purple grape-flavored chemicals, and this team really loved the color purple.
It's that Whoopi Goldberg love again.
That's Oprah.
Oh, I they're the same person to me. I'm sorry.
That's so fucking racist.
Now, you see, I knew it was Oprah. I just said that as a wouldn't it be funny if I was racist joke.
You thought Oprah and Whoopi Goldberg were purple. You're so racist. No. I'm watching you swim through your own poisonous pipeline right now, Nick. There's no way out of this.
Oh, I'm already out, my friend. I'm proud of that joke.
Okay, all right. Yeah, your controls were pretty reversed there for a while. This is I think, with the exception of the last stage in Krematoa, the most difficult stage of the game. Like, this is pretty brutal, especially when you're so used to a particular type of control. I don't know what the solution here is to make it easier if there's a cheat other than just get good at swimming with reverse controls. I guess you could flip your controller around, but that would kind of be awkward, I would think, especially with the Super Nintendo controller. I don't think it would really lend itself well. Maybe it would. I don't know. Never tried it really. But Poisonous Pipeline. I think this is where the Kremlins develop those chemicals, or this is one of the chemicals, or maybe this is just chemical runoff from Castle Chaos. But anyway, this is where K-Rool got a lot of his chemicals from his blunderbuss. Castle Chaos. The final, in quotes, boss of the game. And you think it's going to be a rematch of Chaos, and that's the way it starts off first. But then you quickly make short work of Chaos after one round. A crane, or like a hook comes down, lifts the broken body of Chaos off, and then from behind a red curtain, you see these little green feet during the battle with Chaos, and you're like, there's somebody behind that curtain. And I remember playing this, and I thought, I wonder if that's K-Rool. No,
really?
It couldn't be. They wouldn't put K-Rool in this game. This is Chaos.
So at this point, you still didn't know?
I was in denial.
Well, I'm not saying you should have known, like, aren't you stupid for not? I'm just saying you didn't read any guides or anything that said such.
Oh, no, I was spoiler free.
Okay.
So I didn't put together Bizarre Bear's Labor's Clue, where he reveals that it's K-Rool, but you have to take the first letter of each sentence he says.
Does he really?
Yeah, it spells out.
Can't believe I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So they give away the plot twist there, but I was too dense. Again,
What does he say? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact words. No,
but it spells out
look
K-Rool.
it up for you. I can look it up for you if you want. Do you want me to look it up for you, Nick?
Do you
want me to look? Do you want me to do homework? Do you want me to? Actually, I don't know what he says.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna look it up. Look it up at yourself, kids. It's interesting. Basically, there's one of the questions you can ask Bizarre Bear. It's so who lives up in the castle? And this is before you can even see the fucking castle, because your Bizarre Bear is at the bottom of the map and the castle's at the top. So you're like, wait, what castle? So maybe that's why I didn't put the pieces together, because I was too busy trying to figure out what castle they were talking about. Where was I? Yeah, so I was spoiler free, and I thought those feet might be K-Rool. Whose feet are they? Are they going to tell me whose feet those are? And then K-Rool jumps out in his new persona as Baron K. Rulenstein. And so I remember, because I was playing at this point, I was playing this with Elliot, and I asked him, I was like, wait, is that K. Rool? Because what threw me was, not only did K. Rool's presence in this game go unannounced up until this point,
Yes.
but he was also he was like wearing a toupee, and he had more
It's like
of a
Frankenstein
forehead.
hair.
He had more of a forehead than he had in the previous two games. And this is a point that's been brought up. To make the Baron K. Rulenstein design work, the team had to artificially enlarge his forehead.
No way.
And you know what that means, Nick? Prosthetic scientist forehead.
Oh, shit. Didn't we have prosthetic golfing balls or something last week?
Golfing fingers. Oh, you mean
it's something.
What Minky ripped out of his scrotum? Yeah.
Yes. It was like some other sport, but yeah, that's concerning.
So
Prosthetic scientist for. I guess
because.
it's.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
No, you first, by all fucking means.
Well, it is my show. I was here first.
Not for long. No, I'm just kidding. But what I was gonna say was, I guess it's like.
Oh no!
John...
You said I could go first.
No, what I was gonna say. No, what I was gonna.
God fucking damn! The conversation is canceled.
Don't be mean to racists.
I'm sorry. I realize you just want your coal mining job back. No, I was just gonna say, because of the subtle design differences, it still wasn't quite clear to me if this was K. Rool or not. And this is something that the team did not convey well. In dialogue, Dixie... Because there's a lot of dialogue, and especially when K. Rool jumped out, then Dixie and K. Rool like argue back and forth. Or I guess it could have been Kitty, too, if you only had Kitty at this point. But at no point did they say, oh my god, it's K. Rool. Holy fucking shit.
Holy fucking prosthetic forehead, Batman.
Or anything of that sort. But the way they talked back and forth, it wasn't clear if they knew each other either, or if like Dixie knew who this guy was. So I was thinking, is this like K. Rool's brother? Is this? It wasn't really 100% clear at this point in time. So I remember just eventually
It's still
saying,
not clear to the Smash Brothers trophy writers.
No, they don't even reference Baron K. Rulenstein. They only know about Captain K. Rool.
Yeah.
So during this fight, I eventually said, yeah, it must be K. Rool. Okay. But,
I think he was just a big They Might Be Giants fan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because they have a song about prosthetic foreheads.
Do they really?
They do.
I am not a They Might Be Giants fan, so I did not know that. This boss fight, it's I would say it's about on par with the difficulty of the Captain K. Rool boss fight in Donkey Kong Country 2. It's
pretty hard.
Yeah, he flies over you with his little helicopter pack, and it took me a while to figure out how to hurt him too, because you have to essentially hit him in the back with a steel keg, and then he'll his helicoptery backpack thing will go haywire, and he'll bounce up and down, and yeah, you have to kind of then like shock him with the electrical diodes that are going across the bottom of the screen. That's how you fight K. Rool in this game, and you can evade the electrical diodes by having the steel keg absorb the electricity, which is also a cool a cool use of the steel kegs that hadn't been devised up until this point, I believe.
Using them as electrical conductors?
Yeah, to basically nullify the electricity, and so it won't hurt you.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know. As far as the creativity goes, it's really in full force here. But I would still say the Captain K. Rool boss fight is a little bit more preferable in my mind, but I still am very fond of the Baron K. Rulenstein fight.
As am
but
I.
then you defeat him, and you don't really defeat him too much. He falls through a trap door, and you get a bonus coin, and you're like, what, is that the end? What happened to him? did he fall to his death? Again, this game doesn't really make the more nuanced points clear until much later. But then the Chaos body falls down, and who pops out of it but Donkey and Diddy Kong? And they relate a story to you about how they were sleeping, and then all of a sudden they were a power-crazed madman. So the plot of Donkey Kong Country 3, it's K. Rool abducts Donkey and Diddy Kong in their sleep in the Northern Hemisphere, puts them in a robot body, and uses their brains to power his puppet despot.
Is it at this point yet that K. Rool mentions his wife?
Oh, that's when he pops out of the curtain. He says he used his wife's best pot and pans to make.
He said, "My wife's gonna kill me."
Yeah. Which there was some controversy there. Wait, K. Rool actually has a wife, and Lee Loveday downplayed it in Scribes and said no, he was just referencing some sort of British something or other, a show or a comedian or something, and that K. Rool doesn't actually have a wife.
So he's that insane. He just says he has a wife, even though he doesn't.
Yeah, it's like, how you say, oh, well, I have a girlfriend, but she lives in Canada.
Just making a joke. Or when you're lying.
Oh, yeah, he might just be lying to, make it seem like he's got a... Because, really, where would his wife be? I mean, his Crocodile Isle blew up, and I didn't see his wife escaping with him at the end of that game. So...
She did.
She did?
She dead.
Oh, she dead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, Nick, you got to stop the ebonics. It's pretty racist already.
There I go again.
There he goes again.
Co-opting culture.
Oh, Nick. So I don't think K. Rool actually has a wife. But anyway, yeah, Donkey and Diddy Kong were the brains of Chaos. They were the. That's why we referred to Chaos as a cyborg and not just a robot, because he was brain powered, which is really weird. But as far as twists go, I kind of thought it was cool at the time. I got it. It wasn't like, wait, is this K. Rool or is it not K. Rool? I immediately got what they were going for, and yeah. I was like, okay, that's not just they were kidnapped and they were sad and you made them happy again. There was a little dark element to it that, granted, you never saw Chaos do anything completely heinous. Like, Chaos never burned down a village of children or anything.
Never saw him fuck a Stretch Armstrong.
You never saw that, and really, I feel like maybe that was cut, from the game. Maybe if Unseen 64 does some digging, they'll uncover that in the game's code. But
Cameron makes a good point. He said, even more cutscene dialogue than any game in the series, and yet none of it explains the pre-story plot elements.
Even the post-story is a little convoluted, but yeah, it would have been cool if Chaos actually committed some atrocities, and then Donkey and Diddy would have had to carry that with them. My fanon plot for Mario vs. Donkey Kong has Donkey Kong being brainwashed by a Mario toy company commercial.
Yes.
And then, kidnapping Toads and being, this heinous dick. And then in my fanon, Donkey Kong was suffering from depression afterwards for the rest of calendar year 2004.
Wow. You really wish a lot of bad things upon one of your favorite characters.
No, I would imagine that really would have been a burden on poor Donkey Kong. And in the next game in the chronology was Mario Golf Advance Tour, and Donkey Kong makes a small appearance in that game. And always he barely talks.
Burdened by guilt.
So when you try to talk to him a month later, he's basically non-responsive. And I even said on the DK Vine forum, that's because he's still so overwhelmed with grief over his actions, and he feels like he doesn't even deserve to be there.
I think they definitely gave it that much thought, for sure.
I would like to think that, everybody working for Nintendo has a big chart about Donkey Kong's feelings and how he's feeling from one game to the next.
So would I.
Hey, if I was in charge of Nintendo, that would be priority one. In fact, I would just cancel the Switch right here and right now. We would take a year off until we figure out Donkey Kong's emotional state. Actually, I joke, but we mentioned this in our expose episodes about our trip to Rare. But that's actually, Rare does have a Wheel of Human Emotion, for
No
Sea
way.
of Thieves. Yeah, for Sea of Thieves. They want.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I think.
Yeah, so something similar for Donkey Kong would be much appreciated, Nintendo. Thanks. All right. So then you get the end credits, which the end credits are kind of cool in that they're Dixie's photo album. So instead of a character parade, you get like snapshots, which, granted, there's no camera element in the game, and ironically enough, in the Game Boy Advance remakes, it is the one Game Boy Advance remake not to have cameras to collect throughout the stages. So they completely fucked that up. But yeah, you basically have the parade of characters through this narrative conceit. And it's here where we saw Baron K. Rulenstein's name. And because it didn't start with K. Rool, and it was going by so quick, and I was still overwhelmed with the rush of beating the game,
Yeah.
I didn't read it as Baron K. Rulenstein. I read it as something like
Baron Krulenstein.
or like Baron like K. Stein or something.
Huh.
Or like Baron like Kremlinstein or something like that. And then I remember saying, oh, I guess it wasn't K. Rool. I guess it was a new character.
Really?
So I immediately confused myself after sorting it out in my head. And
Wow.
yeah, this game could have used a lot more clear dialogue. That's for sure. It had too many twists, I think. But anyway, you get that, and then there's still more of the game to go. So you go to Krematoa, the Lost World. I didn't mention Baffle Bear in KAOS Kore, but there's really not much to mention about Baffle.
Other than he's a tourist.
When you're he's got the Guy Fieri shirt on him. He's got the Tommy Bahama fashion sense.
Well, she's just gonna reach into the water and eat a twat.
Oh God.
One of the
Krematoa.
enemies.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I felt safe there. I was like, well, at least Guy Fieri's not going to eat anything on me then. Am I right? Krematoa. So you have to go to Blunder Bear to get any in-game guidance on how to unlock Krematoa. And instead of like a Clubba's kiosk where you just straight up go to Clubba and pay up and get to the Lost World, you actually have to figure it out. And it's not hard to figure out. You talk to Blunder a few times and he'll fucking tell you. There's also a funny gag there where he mentions if you unlock Krematoa before you tell him, he'll complain that you looked at the official Nintendo's player guide. So a little meta there. But yeah, in the mid portion of the map next to Mechanos or Mechanos, there are 4 rocks, and if you drive around them, and you will enough times in a counterclockwise pattern, I believe, you will unlock a Mechanos. Krematoa. It will rise up, and it's a dormant volcano that it's sunk, and it comes up out of the ground. I don't really know the mechanics of how this works, or the Mechanos of how this works, but that's what happens. And then the in-game equivalent of Clubba here is Boomer Bear. Boomer Bear is the brother bear who was exiled to Krematoa because he was too fucking dangerous and his other brother's bear didn't trust him. Because Boomer Bear is a pyromaniac who likes to play with explosives.
Yes.
So you talk to Boomer Bear, you pay him the bonus coins, and he will blow up one boulder blocking each level in Krematoa.
Oh, nice of him.
So, yeah. So, and it should be pointed out that Krematoa, much like the Lost World of Donkey Kong Country 2, it's in an interior setting, in this case, inside the volcano, but there are outdoor elements inside, so that's got to be one massive gap to let in that much sunlight.
Now, I just Googled Boomer Bear, and apparently he's the Missouri State football mascot.
Really?
Yeah, just don't let
Good
him.
for Boomer Bear.
He's gonna blow up a college, I guess.
Well, after the Unabomber was put away, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, somebody's got to make a stand against technology.
The
Nick.
Boomer Bomber.
Thanks, oh boomer. All right, Stampede Sprints, the first stage of Krematoa, a jungle stage, and I think the most memorable jungle stage of the game. So, this game, or this stage, is another Ellie is terrified of sneak stage. But what happens is, at the very onset of the level, there are 3 sneaks who terrify Ellie so much she can't stop running. And so the whole level, it's basically an auto-scrolling level in the Mario vein, left to right, but with an in-universe explanation for why there's auto-scrolling, which I love. I love that the Donkey Kong Country games bother to explain this, and they don't just say, because it's a video game, and that's why we're doing it, and shut up.
I'm not a huge fan of auto-scrolling, actually.
I usually hate them, but I like when there's an in-universe explanation. I can tolerate that because your mind can accept why this is happening. And that's the difference between Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers is an obstacle course. Donkey Kong Country is an adventure.
Yes.
I don't think I'm being too harsh when I say that. I don't hate Mario. I just prefer Donkey Kong Country. So the interesting thing about Stampede Sprint 2 is you get parry near the beginning, and so you can basically run the whole gauntlet with Ellie throughout the stage with parry, and you have to keep parry with you during the whole time.
Wow.
So that is a challenge, and this is why I always like to think that Ellie and Parry are like unlikely animal friends.
Yeah.
You know those unlikely animal friendship books and calendars that show
a lot of birds
life.
like ride on the back of elephants.
Yeah, so I like to think that Ellie and Parry are best buddies.
Me too.
So, but Parry's purpose here is you have to get him to the no animal sign at the very end, and he'll turn into a steel keg, which you can then use for the coin. So unless you do this, there's no getting the hero coin in this stage. This is also interesting that Ellie was going to be featured so prominently in Donkey Kong Racing, which of course became Saberman Stampede, which was canceled.
Yeah.
But then there's that association then with Ellie and stampeding thanks to Stampede Sprint. So it's all connected.
Good point.
It's not a good point. Elephant Stampede, and they're going to be elephants. Saberman Stampede. It's not really that clever.
You're right. It was kind of actually stupid and far-fetched. You should probably take yourself out the game.
Are you saying I should kill myself again?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to go underwater and get a fish around my dick, and I'm going to drown. That's the way I want to go out.
Before I die, I'm going to fuck me a fish.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. Simpsons reference.
Mr. Show reference.
Crisscross cliffs. Put your pants on backwards, Nick, because it's time for crisscross cliffs. And this is another cliff stage.
I prefer Christopher Cross cliffs.
There's a lot of cliff stages in Krematoa, I just realized.
And in the game.
Yeah, there's actually more than 3 cliff stages in the game. Because usually the archetypes max out at 3, but in a couple instances here in Country 3, they push it to the limit. Actually, the interesting thing about this stage, it's that you have to utilize bazookas, because bazookas are, I think, their second appearance in the game.
Bazookas.
And they're shooting steel kegs everywhere, and they're shooting them upwards. So you have to utilize them to defeat the buzzes that are blocking your way. And there are barrels you hit that are called switch barrels, no relation to the upcoming console, that change the barrels that the bazookas are shooting. Am I making any sense? Do you remember any of this?
Yes, a little bit.
Did you know that they actually changed this stage 2 in the European and Japanese releases? There are more red buzzes in those versions than there are in the American version.
Why?
Because in the American version, it was possible to get around these red buzzes because you could simply ascend.
Why the change for a different culture?
They decided to just amend it because they realized they had some poor game design, and so since the American version came out slightly first, they had time to edit it a little bit. So yeah, we have a different version of Donkey Kong Country 3 than other cultures, which we already knew because in Europe, Bramble Bear was called Bellamy Bear.
Bellamy.
That was a reference to a local, or not a local, but a British horticulturalist on TV. Was named Bellamy. And
I thought it was after that guy
was
from Muse who likes to rip off Radiohead.
You know, I don't know enough about Muse. I'm sorry.
Neither do I.
I never really got into the Twilight soundtracks.
Yeah, you need to revisit those, buddy. Those are great.
Apparently I do, yeah.
Great stuff.
Next stage. It's called Tyrant Twin Tussle.
Never forget.
Tyrant Twin Tussle, it's Cuff and Clout's featured stage. Cuff and Clout being the slightly homoerotic Kremlin duo who are always hugging, but in a manly bro way.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's not a blow job if it's a bro job.
Or if it's a gleam and bream job.
So, the gimmick of this stage is there's a whole shit ton of Cuff and Clouts. You're in another cavern, and Squitter is in this stage, and he can shoot. It's funny, Cuff and Clouts are so tough, but they can be taken out with spider webs.
Well, there's jokes that could be made, but why make them?
They're like tough, guys from the gym, but they're like, oh, spider web, oh,
that is such a stereotype.
Dude, I don't like spider webs. Whenever I run into a spider web, I legitimately go, ew, spider web.
If I'm a racist, you're a homophobe. That's just how it is.
Oh, God. We are #deplorable.
In a bucket. I mean, basket.
Gotta get a bucket before you break that Stretch Armstrong.
KFC's new bucket of deplorables.
I could go for some vegetarian chicken nuggets right now.
Tofu-y.
They're actually not bad.
I've had them. Morningstar, good stuff.
Yeah, they taste like chicken. So, anyway, yeah, so Cuff and Clouts can be taken out by spider webs from Squitter or TNT barrels, but for the most part, you have to study their patterns and avoid them.
Like all people of alternative lifestyles.
Oh, boo! Move to North Carolina, Nick.
Hey, things are different now, Hyle. I can say what I want. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking.
Saying what everybody's thinking, right? Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, in my head, 24/7, I'm just hating on everybody.
Normalize it, baby.
Swoopy Salvo. It's the last redwood tree stage of the game.
Swoopy Salvo of Santorum.
If we're talking about homophobes, we might as well bring up Rick Santorum.
Might as well. And if we're talking about webbing, might as well bring up Rick Santorum.
If we're talking about pecking woods, we might as well talk about woodpeckers. Swoopy Salvo, they're the Swoopy Salvo. They're the Swoopies. They're Salvo. Has there ever been a Woody Woodpecker porn?
I think that would just be Woody Woodpecker. It depends on how you look at it.
The easiest fucking thing. It would just be a dude with the Woody Woodpecker beak going to town giving a bro job.
I want to see a porn version of the classic Billy Bob Thornton film Mr. Woodcock.
I thought you were going to say Sling Blade.
Oh, that would be offensive on many levels.
Offensively hot. Swoopy Salvo, there's not much to say about this one. The Swoopies swoop down and you use them as platforms, and you don't want to get stabbed by them.
There's something kind of like this in Rayman 1, I think, but it's
Rayman
not really related.
1?
Yeah, it's not related, though.
And the Swoopies really wanted to see Judge Wampner.
Rayman, not Rain Man.
Oh, okay. Apologies.
Definitely have no limbs.
All right. Well, the final stage of the game, it's a fucking nightmare. It's Rocket Rush.
I remember this.
This is the original Rocket Barrel stage before Retro brought back the Rocket Barrels and
those plagiarists
reinvented them. I like to imagine that the rocket barrel in this stage, because it's never really explained where the hell it comes from. I like to imagine this is a prototype Funky was working on, and he lost it in Krematoa, or like it flew out of Funky's rentals and went underneath the lake underwater and like lodged itself through Krematoa.
That's a cool idea. Or Guy Fieri stole it from him.
He bought it from him.
Yeah, he bought it from him.
He doesn't know anything actually about it, but he knows he likes to eat it.
I'll give you a plate of hot wings for that keg. All right, dude. You ate my hot wings. Sorry, bro.
I'm going to eat this rocket barrel now, because I'm a fat, gluttonous fuck.
Frosted Tips.
I do believe my colon won't be able to digest this. I don't know what Guy Fieri sounds like. Is he the guy who says "bam" a lot?
No, that's Emerald.
Oh.
Oh, I get it. So all chefs look alike. Okay. The color frosted.
Does he make all those nice crafts, or that's Martha Stewart, isn't it?
Yeah, she's in jail.
She's not in jail. She hasn't been in jail for like a decade. Like
she's in mental jail.
That is an outdated joke. Remember when she hosted
outdated
her own version of The Apprentice?
I think so. So she has something in common with Trump. They both should be in jail.
Actually, Martha Stewart probably went to jail for things that a lot of male executives should go to jail for and don't go to jail for. So
you think it's just because she was a woman?
In defense of Martha Stewart, she should not have gone to jail if these other fuckers don't.
Or did that jail just have a really bad cafeteria and they really wanted to like get some better cooking in there?
That would have been awesome if that's the real reason.
The guys in there like, we're tired of mystery meat. Get that Martha Stewart lady in here.
Apparently she was the model prisoner, though.
I know.
So I have some respect for Martha Stewart. And
I hear she had a poster of Guy Fieri with a tunnel carved out behind it.
I don't even know what that means.
It's a Shawshank Redemption thing.
Okay, but why Guy Fieri? So Rocket Rush is... I don't even know how to describe this gimmick. You're in this contraption. It's a rocket barrel. It's different than the ones that appear in the retro games, but essentially, you only see Diddy and Dixie through their googly eyes in this porthole, and you have to go down. It's a lot like Parachute Panic at first. You're navigating downwards through the cliffs, and it's actually quite easy at this point. And the rocket boosters can like burn buzzes, and that's really cool. But the hard part is that once you get to the bottom, then you have to go to the top. And to get to the top, you have to get to the top without running out of fuel. So this is the return of the fuel canisters from Donkey Kong Country 1. They just randomly brought back, which I love.
In the final level.
Yeah. About as conspicuous as that one mystery crate in the waterfall level that we didn't talk about last time. But there's that one mystery crate from Donkey Kong Country 2 that just somehow is in the game. Well, fuel canisters are in this game, but we know why they're there. So the controls are really difficult because they were reversed, I believe, from what we're used to. So again, reverse controls, and this was a hell of a time. I don't think this is as hard as Animal Antics, the final stage of Country 2, but this was probably the hardest stage of the game, at least initially. Once you get the hang of it, it's probably not the hardest stage in the game, but when you're first starting out, fuck this level.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, did you have much difficulty with it when you...
If I remember correctly, yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah. And, funny enough, the new rocket barrels in the retro games, which I like to imagine are Funky's just fine-tuned versions of this rocket barrel. This was just the prototype, but the rocket barrel stages in the newer Country games are also frustrating at times. There are stages that I don't think many people really look forward to, and we feel like retro probably relies on way too much. But they're nowhere near the difficulty this was. All right, well, if you if you beat Rocket Rush, and you beat all the levels in Krematoa, every time you beat a level in Krematoa, you get a gear. a gear shoots out from the flagpole, and that's a really weird thing, but you take it back to Boomer Bear, and he adds it to this device, which I think is some sort of winch that he,
Yeah, don't call women that.
I can call women what I want now. Again, white male privilege is back! Check your privilege. I do that every day, and I like it. So, the winch, pulls up a submarine from the middle of the Krematoa Lake. And this is the Nautilus, in which it's silent K. It's one of the laziest puns Rare came up with this series. Oh, what could be a Kremlin submarine? Well, there's the Nautilus. Remember that? What if we just put a silent K on the end of it? Brilliant! You get a raise. The Nautilus comes to the surface, and all of Krematoa turns red for some reason.
Oh, weird.
And I don't really know the reason behind this. I've heard different theories, like
It's the Rapture.
does the Nautilus trigger like Krematoa's volcanic activity again? I don't think that's the explanation. I think the Nautilus, it just like radiates red. I don't know, it's heat or something. But what's interesting is that not only does the map screen of Krematoa turn red, but then if you go back into each stage, there is now a red tint in all 5 stages of Krematoa. So that's something that the team did, and it's permanently red from that point on. You can't experience the stages in their original color scheme. So it kind of reminds me of Super Mario World. After you defeat Special, you've permanently fucked up your game file in this less preferable design aesthetic.
This is true.
But anyway, the Nautilus is the home to the final fight with K. Rool, or Baron Kremenstein, or whatever the fuck I called him at this point. And unlike the rematch with K. Rool in The Lost World and Country 2, this is more of a full-on boss fight. It's not just, oh, we got one more round and then we're going to pack it in. No, this is like a feature length once again. And it's hard. It's similar to the fight in Castle Chaos, but just much more harder. And K. Rool also goes into the background this time, and he'll fly around, and he does
pulling
that.
some returns tricks.
A little bit of a Lord Frederick kind of thing. Yeah. So we've always called Lord Frederick. Always called him in the last 2+ years as just a mashup of K. Rool's greatest hits, and he definitely pulls the Baron K. Roolenstein a couple times,
which is fine.
Yeah. So basically he goes into the background, and then you have to suck up the steel keg, and it flies into the background then and hits him there. So you have to time it just right. So you defeat K. Rool here, and all that happens is he falls onto the ship wheel and he starts spinning around, and you're like, oh, is that fucking it? Like, that's all that happens to K. Rool, is he gets mildly dizzy. So I remember at that point you go save. There's a save cave in Krematoa, so you go to Wrinkly Save Cave, and she then says, she mentions K. Rool by name, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess that was K. Rool. Thanks, game. Thumbs up. But I'm glad we had Wrinkly there to set it straight.
Yeah.
So Wrinkly basically gently reminds you that, hey, you should visit Funky Kong if you have all the hero coins at this point. Hey, you really need to keep investigating this Banana Bird shit. Hey, hint, hint, the game's not over.
We haven't spoken much on Banana Birds.
No, so this is where the Banana Bird endgame comes in. So all throughout the game, you're getting Banana Birds. You get them through Brothers Bear, but you also get them through these crystalline caverns that are hidden on the overworld map and in the sub-maps. And generally in the sub-maps, there's one Banana Bird cave hidden per world. But then throughout the overworld, there's also these caves that you basically just have to approach. And if you can hit the D-pad in the right direction, it'll boom open the cave for you. And you go into the cave, and inside you go into the pseudo 3D perspective of the target minigames or the bleak fight. But this time you're playing a variation of the Simon game. The Simon game put out by I want to say Milton Bradley, Amy Parker Brothers.
Sounds right.
but it's the color coordinated game that boom, boom, boom.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
So you have to hit, remember the colors, remember the patterns, and each one, there's one more that, each round, another color is added to the pattern. So it goes like blue, green, red, blue, green, red, blue.
That was a beautiful song.
And so, yeah. And so you got to do that. I cheated when I did these because I had a pen and I had a piece of paper and I wrote down the button combinations it would give. I'm a dirty fucking cheat, Nick, but I wasn't gonna sit there and try to memorize the patterns. That would have been madness. Do you think less of me? Is that why you're silent right now?
Oh yeah, I'm judging you so hard right now.
Well, it was a good
Nah,
run.
it's fine.
I was gonna say, after 17 years, I'm retiring from DK Vine.
Just because.
Nick, I'm sorry, man, but I was doing this all for your approval.
Oh.
Here are the keys. Here are the keys to DK Vine.
Jeez.
It's bound to happen sooner or later. All I ask is that you keep up with the daily Facebook updates. Remember, at least one per day.
Every day?
Well, at least one per day.
Oh.
Weekends generally have more. Your Saturday night screen grab of spaciness. Your Saturday morning splash of seafaring. Your Sunday morning shot of spirituality. Don't forget in October, you've got to do 31 daily posts of Fearbringers. And don't forget in December, you have the 25 days of Advent Calendar.
What are you going to do with your life now?
Well, I wouldn't wish this burden upon anybody. I'm taking those keys back. I'm sorry. So, so basically what you have to do is you have to get all hero coins in the game. I think there's 41 in this game. I think there's like one more than there is in Country 2.
They're DK coins.
Fuck you. You get all the hero coins, and then what do? You go to Funky, and you pay that bastard off.
For the greatest ending in any video game of all time.
You get the gyrocopter, which there's a retcon in Donkey Kong Country 2 Game Boy Advance. Funky had a prototype gyrocopter. So he's been working on this for a while, but in Country 3, in the original Super Nintendo, before the Game Boy Advance remix, we didn't know that. This is the introduction to Funky Kong having a gyrocopter. And remember the other year when a dude flew a gyrocopter to Washington, D.C., and landed on the national lawn, or it landed in front of the Senate or Congress or something?
Yeah, was that Funky?
He got arrested? No, but it did my heart good to see the gyrocopter in the news, because you don't hear about gyrocopters often enough, and it reminded me of Donkey Kong Country 3.
Guy Fieri was arrested today for stealing his friend's gyrocopter in exchange for fried chicken and blue cheese.
No, he just thought it was a gyro. And granted,
and so I guess they're Euro coins now, huh?
He was flying quite a bit with this gyro, but that was mostly just toilet related. So with the gyrocopter, you can fly around the map screen and get to the nooks and crannies you couldn't get to. Basically, you're uncovering the last Banana Bird caves that were out of reach. You're flying around now. You have full range of motion. There's also in the upper left-hand corner of the screen some clouds. And I remember flying around on the gyrocopter. I was like, all right, I got to find these Banana Bird caves. I don't know what's going to happen. Hey, there's clouds up here. Yeah. Oh, I'm just flying underneath the clouds. And then the screen went black. And I jumped. I was like, what the fuck? Remember when I was talking about last episode, the fear of the unknown, and how this game kind of got me over that completely 100%? This is the last time I really felt true terror, because the screen went black, Nick, and I'm like, what did I do? What is happening? What? Did I just go off the edge of the game? And this is where you meet the Queen Banana Bird, one of the most what the fuck hidden things.
Oh, come on. This makes total sense.
I mean, when you're talking about banana birds, sure. So it turns out...
No, I'm just kidding. This is a clusterfuck of madness.
A cluster cluck, I think you want to say.
Oh!
So, the banana birds, it turns out, live in the clouds, And they have a mother named Queen Banana Bird, who is a giant, towering banana bird who has, I guess, magical abilities.
A banana that is bigger than the Kongs.
A banana that is bigger than, I think, a lot of land
Most
masses
things.
in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it turns out when K. Rool came to the Northern Hemisphere after Donkey Kong Land 2, he had a run-in with the Queen Banana Bird. I don't know, maybe the Queen Banana Bird sensed his evil and approached him to say, and K. Rool was like, And what K. Rool did was he used a Kremlin spell, dark magic, and trapped the Queen Banana Bird behind a barrier. And this is a barrier that has all these Kremlin runes on it.
He's a bumbling buffoon, yet he can trap a god.
Well, I mean, with Kremlin magic, and for all we know, maybe K. Rool had some of the Kremlin source power absorbed into his skin still. I mean, who's to say?
I guess he's basically abusing the power of his betters from bygone era of Kremlin.
Yeah, so the Queen Banana Bird is trapped behind a barrier that's inscribed in these Kremlin runes, and at first we thought these symbols were maybe like the names of the banana birds in this weird banana bird language, but no, these are actually Kremlin symbols, because you've got the Kremlin K on the bottom, and on the top you've got K. Rool's crown when he was King K. Rool. And
Are any of these symbols in any of the Kremlin ruins in other games?
No.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. And I think one of the symbols is actually a banana, so that shows maybe the bananas are sacred to the Kremlins, and that's why they're always stealing them. But hey, anyway. So the Queen Banana Bird is trapped and says, I need the power of all of my children to unlock the crystal key at the heart of this dark barrier. And
Another ice key?
No, this predates the ice key.
Oh, yeah.
But then she promises, if you can free all of the banana birds and bring them back to her, she will rid this land of K. Rool forever. Which sounds like she's gonna kill him. I was excited. I was like, holy shit, she's gonna like shoot a fucking laser beam at him, and K. Rool's gonna become like
gonna put him in the ground.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna get like like, how do you top Donkey Kong Country 2's ending?
Yeah.
Because that was like accidental genocide. That was a fucking badass ending, man. How are they
blow
going to
up a planet? That's how.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to really rock your dick off here. So I was like, my heart was beating. I was like, beating. It was pumping. I could barely breathe. I was like, shit's about to get real. This is going to be the greatest game ending of all fucking time. All hands on deck.
It's going to be so violent and so dark.
I got to strap myself in. Oh, yeah. Where's my Stretch Armstrong doll? I need to get one off right now, baby.
Hand me a gleaming bream.
Woo! Donkey Kong Country 3 ending Queen Banana Bird. Fuck yeah. Rock out with your cock out. So you get all the
I pity your
birds.
wife right now.
I think she left me at this point.
Okay.
All the banana birds. You get all them. You go back to Wrinkly, and she said the banana birds are like flying around at super speed right now, and she says, "Well, they're getting frisky," or something like that.
A storm must be a coming.
And she was like, "It seems like they want to take you somewhere. You better go with them." It's like, all right, Wrinkly.
Oh yes, I'm gonna witness a murder. Let's go.
Yeah, so basically, kindly old Wrinkly Kong lets this flock of birds that she's been nurturing this entire game fly out her cave and take you with them. So basically, you are being carried away by the flock of banana birds on the map screen, which is a hilarious visual. Oh, Wrinkly also says she'll take your vehicle back to Funky. So there is this unseen visual of
I can see her backing it up very slowly.
Wrinkly flying the gyrocopter. What a fucking...
She backs up without looking.
Had she not appeared in Donkey Kong Land 3, I would say that's how she died.
Yeah.
There'd be flaming wreckage. It's not...
Oh, I'll return it for you. That would make Dixie feel responsible.
Cuts to the World Trade Center. Tyrant twin tussle.
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Too far.
Yeah, I know. Never forget. So, you go to the Queen Banana Bird, and then the power of the banana birds unlock break the crystal key, and the barrier sinks into the clouds. And then the Queen Banana Bird says, "Come on, let's teach K. Rool a lesson he'll never forget." And I'm like, yeah, well, how?
Let's fuck up a chump.
Yeah, how will he forget it if you fucking murder him? So I was thinking all sorts of things, like what are we in?
Slit his throat and tie him up and leave him in a back alley.
So cut to K. Rool stealing the hovercraft. He's trying to get away, but unfortunately the Northern Hemisphere's lakes are landlocked. And there's no escape here. I don't know what he's trying to think. Moron. He's panicking at this point. There's nowhere for him to go. He doesn't have the flying croc anymore, you know. His helicopter backpack's probably on the fritz, and it moves too slow.
His prosthetic forehead is sweating like mad.
Yeah, the sweat is building up. It's really gross underneath there. It's probably going to break out underneath there at this point. So he's going around. You see on the map screen Dixie and Kitty riding the Queen Banana Bird, giving chase to K. Rool in the hovercraft. And you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Shit's getting real. And then it cuts to actually the close-up perspective. And K. Rool's on the hovercraft. He's riding along. He looks up. He looks in horror.
Oh, shit.
What Lovecraftian terror is coming for K. Rool? What will be the end of K. Rool? What will conclude the Donkey Kong Country trilogy? An eggshell drops on him.
Yeah, but it kills him, right?
Nope. It drops on him, and then it breaks ever so slightly, so his eye holes... You can see his eye holes, his googly eyes underneath in the darkness, and he looks kind of embarrassed, and he's blinking a bit.
So he was humiliated.
He was mildly embarrassed because an egg shell dropped on him, Nick. An eggshell. I mean, how humiliating for this guy. This guy with the egg
on his face.
He's literally got egg on his face. Oh, Queen Banana Bird, you cut up you. You sure showed him, the man who kidnapped your children. You certainly put an eggshell on him without any yolk even. This is mildly going to ruin his day.
It's like that film Prisoners when Hugh Jackman's daughter's kidnapped. He finds Paul Dano and puts an eggshell on his head.
Oh, if only Paul Dano had an eggshell on his head at all times, I think we as a society would be better. Honestly, I don't mind Paul Dano as much as I do Miles Teller now. So, I would say Miles Teller. Let's put an eggshell on that guy. Just fuck that guy.
Oh, I've got a scar on my face. Oh, I'm a boxer. Shut the fuck up.
People say he has a punchable face. I think he has a half an eggshell on his head face. That's my opinion. That's my hot take. So, Dixie and Kitty drop down and sit on the eggshell, and they just kind of like look sheepish, like, what do we do now? And in the background, Funky Kong is on his motorboat, and Cranky, amusingly, he's jet skiing. He's got water skis on his feet, and it's funny because he's an old man, but he's hip with the 90s extreme, man. He could be at the X Games. Cranky Kong.
It's a wild child.
And then, of course, he gets more and more in over his head, and Funky speeds up, and then Cranky is just like, he's falling over, and he's like bouncing along the water, and then Funky crashes, apparently, and that's the last you see of Funky in the game. And maybe Funky was supposed to die originally. And then I remember Elliot asking, so is Funky dead?
That'd be such a way to go. Like, he's so helpful the whole game, like, and then he just dies.
His decapitated head floats by.
Oh, this isn't let the right one in, Hyle.
And then Cranky Kong floats up top with a sign that he apparently made in advance. He was like, oh, this is all coming to an head. I better make a sign that says, the end. The complete polar opposite of Donkey Kong Country 2's somber, emotional, reflective ending.
And that's why I love it.
Really? You like this ending?
It's wacky.
It's there's no gravitas here. I like wackiness, but this is just, you're not rewarded for your efforts.
Sure, I can see that. But yeah, it's disappointing if you got everything in the game, but it's the journey, not the destination.
It's the foreigner. It's the Boston. It's the Chicago. I don't know. I mean, I love so much about Donkey Kong Country 3, and granted, it would be terribly hard to match the epic ending of Donkey Kong Country 2, what I still consider to be the best ending of all time. I understand.
I love it in its what the fuck you kind of way.
Yeah, here's the thing though. You say you're gonna rid the land of K. Rool forever. Well, he's back in the Northern Hemisphere in Donkey Kong Land 3. This didn't slow him down at all. I actually like to fan wank this ending a little bit to make it more palatable. So what I say is that K. Rool is trapped under this eggshell, and then the Queen Banana Bird takes him inside this eggshell back to the clouds and keeps him prisoner until he's able to escape. So in my fanon, K. Rool was actually kept a prisoner until he was able to, I don't know, jerry-rig his backpack into a method of escape.
In my fanon, he's so insane and such a narcissist that just getting slightly embarrassed like that is almost as bad as getting killed for him. Like, it damages his ego so much that he goes into hiding and only comes out for Donkey Kong Land 3 when he gets some hair up his ass about something.
Well, K. Rool is the product of his constant humiliation. He gets more and more unhinged as the games go on, so you're not far off there. I think as far as humiliation goes, having your whole island destroyed and your species endangered because of an accidental genocide that you yourself caused is far more humiliating and personally crushing than getting half an eggshell dropped on your head. But that's just my opinion. I've never experienced either scenario, so who's to say?
I've experienced both, and I could say the latter is far more harming.
So, what is Donkey Kong Country 3? As we come to the close of our 4-part 20th anniversary spotlight celebration, it's time, Nick, to give our final thoughts on the game. And because you've been such an exemplary drunkard of a co-host, with your sweaty, stained, corn syrup-filled lederhosen, oh, I noticed the corn syrup, my friend. You can't hide your Stretch Armstrong from me. I thought I would let you go first.
Okay. DKC3, where to begin? Well, I happen to have written this little essay here. Let me get this out. It's a good game. That's all I wrote.
You're fucking worthless. I swear
but
to God.
I can expound upon that.
All right, please
it's a
do.
good game because of many reasons we've stated before, and I'll state again. A new team, given the reins of a property that has been perhaps thought to be perfected, but now that they've gotten all the idea work out of the way, they can play with those ideas and make them even better and put it in a new, interesting environment with alien characters and strange designs. It's wacky, it's not perfect, but I love it. It's Donkey Kong Country 3.
Yeah. I've long had a relationship with this game where I've compared it with his immediate predecessor, Donkey Kong Country 2. I consider Donkey Kong Country 2 to be my favorite game of all time.
Yes.
But I've often said that Donkey Kong Country 3 surpasses it in many ways, and it could possibly be the better game. It's just lacking in certain areas that keeps it from going over the top. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that assessment today. I think it's definitely a better game than the original Donkey Kong Country, which, let's face it, the original Donkey Kong Country is a great game. It's fun as hell. It's got probably the most kinetic, pure gameplay out of the entire trilogy, but it's also bare bones. It's a team finding its footing. It's a concept being brought to life. Donkey Kong Country 2 perfected that concept. Donkey Kong Country 3 then had the unenviable task of trying to
experimenting.
Well, at the very least, match that. And the only way to match it was to experiment with it. So handing the reins over to a new team was what made this game great. I really think if it was, as much as I think Greg Mayles is the most underappreciated genius in Western gaming, the Western Miyamoto, as much as I admire Chris Sutherland, and as much as I love the art direction of Steve Mayles and Kev Bayless, and
David
everybody,
Wise.
David Wise, everybody who worked on the original 2 games. I really think had they made a 3rd game, they would have just been going through the motions because they were ready to move on to something new. And I don't think they had anything else to say. They could have brought new great things to it. We probably won't ever know. But it was good to let a new, fresh team at Rare take over because not only did they have the template ready-made for them, they knew how to make a Donkey Kong Country game. And you know, the other team was in another barn right down the way there. If they had to, you know, ask them any questions, well, how would you do this? So they really had the best of both worlds in front of them, and they could experiment. And they really made an interesting sequel. Is it as good as Donkey Kong Country 2? No. But in many ways, it is more interesting and fascinating than Donkey Kong Country 2. And in some ways, it is better. The map screen is so much more complex and nuanced and exciting. There's lots of stages that, on gimmickry alone, they make some stages some of the most memorable of the trilogy. It's insanely fun to play. It never gets tedious. Going back and revisiting it this past month has just reminded me that unlike, you know, a lot of popular opinions, this game is not a step down. This is not the odd one out. I mean, it's an odd game in many ways, but it is Donkey Kong Country 3, damn it. It earns that title of Donkey Kong Country. It goes out on a sillier note, sure, and, you know, it's kind of hard to pick up from Crocodile Isle and Donkey Kong is kidnapped and the Kremlin homeland is destroyed. I mean, that was just... That brought a mythology to the series, and it brought a certain level of pathos and lore. And Country 3 brings its own lore, brings plenty of lore, but it doesn't have the gravitas, I think, that Country 2 has. But it's fun.
It's apples and oranges because 3 has such a different atmosphere and a cool atmosphere.
Right. And here's the thing. Donkey Kong Country as a trilogy is not a self-contained story. The story of Donkey Kong is going to continue after this. It's going to continue for 20 more years at the very least. So, really, I mean, Donkey Kong 64 was, at least from a narrative standpoint, the conclusion to Rare's Donkey Kong Country trilogy. This is more just another entry along the way, and it's great. I love it, and I think anybody who has sold it short or who has heard conflicting things about this game really needs to pick it up. Play the first 2 games first. This is definitely a game that you should play at the end of the first 2, because you need to learn the ins and outs first before you can really appreciate the brilliance of it. Fully appreciate the brilliance of it. So I'm sure this was many people's first Donkey Kong Country game, and I'm sure many people loved it from that. But I think it's also one of those things where, you know, you need to build up to it to really love it. Savor every last drop.
Gotta learn jazz before you hear acid jazz or free jazz or something.
Something like that. Or isn't it you've got to learn classical before you can do jazz?
Sure, that's even better.
Yeah, whatever. You've got
the bottom line is
you've got to learn Chicago before you perform Boston.
Yes, exactly. Before you go on a journey. The bottom line is, if you don't like this game, I think you need to take a visit to the Queen Banana Bird so she can rid the land of your existence.
Right, and how humiliating will that be for you? All right, so here's what we're going to do as we wrap up this episode. We've got a couple more calls to take from our loyal listeners, and then I'm going to hand it over to a couple staff members who are going to share their thoughts. I promise we get some more DK Vine staff on this episode to create a smorgasbord of opinions about the Spotlight, and that's what we're going to do. So, first of all, let's take some calls.
Yo, what up? Sabretooth again. So, one of my favorite things about Donkey Kong Country 3 is the bosses. You know, in the first game you had a big naughty, you know. It was fun to hop around on. It wasn't really creative though. You had a big barrel that shoots out enemies, you know, that's kind of entertaining. Overall the bosses in the first game weren't that great. Second game, they got a lot better. You had Crow, who is fought twice once alive, once dead. Thought that was pretty neat. You had big, had other stuff like big buff Kremlings. You had big Zinger. They still kind of relied on keeping looks, that idea, that trope. But in DKC3, they went crazy with it. First of all, they had an animated snowman. That's pretty unique, but not all that crazy. They had a living barrel. Okay, that's pretty crazy. Then they had a living waterfall monster. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that I really like the bosses in this game. And what are your favorite bosses? I think they're all pretty cool. Personally, my favorite is Squirt, like I said, because it's so, how did they think of this? I love it. It's like a crab coming out of a waterfall. Anyway, yeah. The bosses are awesome. Give me your thoughts. Peace out.
Thank you for the call, Sabretooth. And
Thank you.
I think my favorite boss, Bleak.
That would make sense.
I'm Sir Slush too. Come on. Bleak.
Yeah. I'd say it's a tie for me between Eric, Belcha, and Squirt.
Wow, so you're just saying half the bosses are your favorite.
What can I say? I like the bosses in this game. All right, I'll go with Eric.
All right, fair enough. I'll go with Donald Jr. Next call.
Good day, lads. Scrap69 here. How's it cracking, eh? Look, just calling to talk about the second half of Donkey Kong Country 3, eh? The better game. A great game. Anyway, just wanted to say some of the great levels in there. They're called Barrel Drop Bounce. Another one's called Ropey Rumpus. And the other one is Stampede Sprint. And the reason is because they've got Patty the Parallel Bird. I just wanted to note something though with in Stampede Sprint. Maybe my memory's a bit off, but that's pretty much the only level where you're seeing two animal buddies working together at the same time, courtesy of Patty the Parallel Bird. Patty's trying to calm down Ellie as she's running away from all those sneaks. So Patty's Ellie's mate, and we have to thank Patty for helping her out in that respect. Takes a while, but it happens. Anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about was that you didn't really talk about Patty that much in your introductions, because when we're talking about Patty the Parallel Bird, and you said that Patty is a brand new species, the thing is Patty has got more to it than just that. Look at Patty's wingspan. It goes both ways. Patty's wings allow him to hover. His feathers are on all sides. When you look at the sprites, it's on all sides, which allow him to fly both forward and technically backwards if he so chooses. But it means that he can really just stay in one spot, which explains why he's able to parallel the Kongs. Now, I thought it was quite excellent to, when analysing Patty the Parallel Bird and seeing that, and I did a bit of research, and Mario Wiki reckons that Patty the Parallel Bird is actually based on the Quetzal, so Quetzal. And when you have a look at it, Patty, there is similarities, because that bird, his bones move forward, unlike most other birds, which give him that bone structure, which resembles a Quetzal. And Patty the Parallel Bird also has the two feathers sticking out at the bottom, which is also similar to a Quetzal as well. So they're pretty marked similarities, I reckon. So, yeah, Patty the Parallel Bird. Awesome. Remember to vote Barry. That's right, lads. See ya.
You can't vote in the Hall of Fame anymore. Scraps. The voting ended a while ago. Anyway, thank you for the call, and thank you for the information and love for Perry the Parallel Bird.
Yeah, I didn't know Perry goes both ways. That's interesting.
Hey, what's up, guys? Lighthouse here again. I don't really have much to discuss, but a question did come to mind that I kind of wanted insight on from maybe Slush or someone who wants to kind of talk about it. I noticed that, like, a lot of people think the DKC3 soundtrack is, like, how can I put it, like the worst soundtrack of the trilogy, which I simply don't agree with. Like, some people are like, oh, it's not really instrumental, like, it's too moody, like, it's not really melodic, et cetera, and I entirely disagree. And one thing I wanted to kind of touch up on is, if you look at the Game Boy rendition with, like, DK Land 2 and then DK Land 3, like, you could tell kind of actually, I might have to scratch this. Like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like, more or less, like, the Land 3 compositions, like, I think Ellen Fisher, like, ported the soundtrack. I'm not sure on that. I know Grant Kirkhope did DK Land 2, but, like, honestly, like, if you listen to Land 3 in the compositions compared to, like, how they sound on the Super Nintendo, you could kind of see, like, how melodic they really are. And it's, like, with the added percussion, like, a lot of the tracks are really, really good. Like, Null Fever, for example. Like, it's kind of moody on the Super Nintendo where it's, like, and then kind of has, like added percussion, like in the, you know, the one for the Game Boy. So, like, you can kind of tell it's, like, a lot more upbeat. And, I guess my question is, like, how would you guys feel about, like, how do you guys feel about the difference, I guess? Actually, you might want to scratch this call. I'm all over the place on this one. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Lighthouse. For somebody with the name of Lighthouse, you sure did get lost in that call often. No. I see what you're saying, actually. I have been playing Donkey Kong Land 3 a little bit recently, and that is something I noticed, is that the tracks actually work well on the Game Boy, and I think maybe stripped of the sugar that's featured in the Super Nintendo versions of the songs, the more melodic nature of them can really come out to play on the Game Boy. I would agree with that assessment, actually.
Yeah.
And I do think the songs are melodic, just not necessarily in the same way they are in
They're sparse.
Country 2. Yes. And again, I think that's just Evelyn Fisher's style. But yeah, I think when they're like distilled down to their I guess barest essence, then the melody actually really does come out.
Like I said, she's the Brian Eno to David Wise's Brian Ferry.
You did say that, and you said it again. And you know what? I agreed with you then, and I'll agree with you now.
Just for people that missed that episode.
Well, everybody's missed it so far. All right, that next call.
Hey, Hyle, and hey, Nick, it's Banjo-Kazooie 2000, back with a final call for this final episode of the DKC3 Spotlight. Quick thoughts on K3 and the rest of the game. From what I remember from when I last played DKC3, K3 is the snow world where you find a Blizzard Bear, and where he gives you a present to deliver to Blue Bear. So, let's see, there's that magnificent level in K3 where the big saw is cutting down the tree, and it's one of the most gorgeous-looking levels in the game, with no doubt. Let's see. The boss, Bleak, I've always found that to be an interesting boss, and the fact that his mechanics, Bleak's boss mechanics, add to the very final K. Rool fight in the Lost World, which you can access by complete accident if you're just moseying around the map screen. Let's see, what else is there? Geez, I don't know if you guys talked about, in the last episode, because Hyle, he haven't really put up the episode yet, so I'm not sure. Oh yeah, Mincantos is obviously before K3. I know I'm getting, trailing off, but before I get cut off, my final thoughts on DKC3. I finished the game any % a few months ago, or at least a month or so ago, and I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to go back and try and get everything for a 103% playthrough. Yeah, that's all I really got. Sorry for rambling a little bit. I'm just trying to think of what to say here. So yeah, this is Banjo-Kazooie 2000, and one more quick thought: Stampede Sprint is absolutely easy. So take care, and here's to another 20 years of Donkey Kong Country 3.
Well, I hope Donkey Kong Country 3 will last another 20 years. I mean, I hope it doesn't, get into an automobile accident or get like pancreatic cancer or something. I mean, that would be a shame.
Jesus Christ, Hyle.
I don't know. I mean, how does a video game age? I mean, I think it'll still be around. Anyway, yes, thank you for the call, Banjo Kazooie 2000. So,
Engage.
yes, there we have it. There we have it, Nick. All the calls, all the episodes, but there's still some thoughts to be shared because 12 plus hours of podcasting about Donkey Kong Country 3 just aren't enough. We have to get in some other people's perspectives. So here's DK Vine's staff members with their own feelings about Donkey Kong Country 3. Me, myself, I'm going to finally have one of those ales you've been talking about, unless you like drank them all.
Yeah. No, I think I found my last one. Here, let me take off this lederhosen first. Ugh.
Wait.
Oh, that's rank.
Okay, well, forget it. I'm just going to go drown myself with the gleaming breams. Good night, folks.
Hey there, Kongversation. This is Jeff Onan. And I'm dropping by my thoughts about Donkey Kong Country 3. So the thing about Donkey Kong Country 3 is, so I was born in the year 1993, and in a household that bought Donkey Kong Country 1 and Donkey Kong Country 2 the day that they came out. So as an infant, I was already surrounded by those two games and played them as soon as I was old enough to play games. Was obsessed with them. But I didn't play Donkey Kong Country 3. We didn't buy it, and I didn't go on the internet and read about it because I was a baby. I was a tiny kid, still shitting myself and whatnot, whatever kids do. And anyway, it wasn't until I was in like the 3rd grade that someone told me there was a 3rd game, and my mind was blown. How could there be a 3rd game? Like, these are my 2 favorite games of all time, and there's a 3rd one, and I didn't know about it? That's ridiculous. It didn't make any sense. But I tracked down a copy of it and played it, and because of having been so steeped in the first 2 games for so many years, there's nothing quite as magical as being able to play a 3rd game years later, at cognizant age, to appreciate it and like have this gift given to me of like not playing this game for years, and then suddenly there's Donkey Kong Country 3. And my first impressions are that the game is weird as fuck because there's bears everywhere, which are a kind of a weird NPC to add to the series up to that point, that suddenly we're just going to have bears. It didn't really fit. Then you have Kiddy Kong as this big, goofy baby. The weird overworld quest elements, banana birds, and this and that, and like so much about it just seems off-kilter and strange to go from Donkey Kong Country 2 to that. But I love it. And the thing is, my friend who described it to me at first, I didn't believe that anything he said was real. Not only was it ridiculous for there to be a 3rd game at all, but for this to be the 3rd game, the thing he was describing. And yet, it's my favorite game of all time. I'll say that, which is a pretty hefty thing to say. I do like it more than I like Donkey Kong Country 2, and a lot of that might be simply because of that magical discovery element of playing it years after the fact. But there's no other game experience that will ever come close to touching that for me. So anyway, that's all I had to say about Donkey Kong Country 3. It's a great game. The Brothers Bear are the greatest characters of all the characters. They are best. And thanks for your time. Bye.
What's Donkey Kong Country 3 mean to me? Maybe I need to go back and establish some backstory. Okay, so, how I got into the DKC series was, I played the first game at a friend's house, and since I hadn't really played very many games at that point, I really didn't have any idea what I was doing. At the time, most of my gaming had been point-and-click adventures on PC, so things like beavers that kill you by walking into you were still pretty foreign to me. But I remember the name of the game, and I remembered liking playing as the little red-hatted monkey. I don't think I got his name at that point. Anyway, some years later, got my own SNES in 1996 as a gift, and around the time it came to Hunt for Games, the bizarre and kind of sexist ad campaign that kind of unpersoned the lead character was still fresh in my memory from its airtime, and since I didn't really remember much else about the ad, I think we were still dealing with a television with crappy reception and also me being a kid with a poor attention span. But I remembered the starring Kid Kong line. Now, since my first games were both side-scrollers and sequels were Mario platformers, the idea of immediate sequels that rotated out the title characters, that was completely unknown to me. So at the time I figured, oh, that must be the name of the little red-hatted monkey that I liked. I remember that game. Anyway, when we went down to the shops to get a new game, I asked for that game with Kiddy Kong in it, and when I was shown the box for DKC 3 and shown a notable lack of monkeys wearing red hats, figured out what mistake I had made, and was pointed in the direction of DKC 2, which we walked out with, and that not only had Diddy in it, but had him in the starring role. So, yeah, that weird ad campaign led to me buying a completely different game that was over a year old, that offered a proper introduction to the character the ad campaign was specifically trying to downplay the role of. So, mission accomplished? I don't know. Is that good or bad? Anyway, I played DKC 2, loved it, read the manual so many times that today the book barely holds together. I didn't really take care of my things as a kid. Much as I like Diddy, the game introduced me to Dixie Kong, and it quickly became apparent when you're a kid who really kind of sucks at video games to the point where you still haven't even figured out how the roll jump works. Dixie is kind of an awesome character, and one you can actually get through the levels with if you keep alive thanks to her awesome ponytail abilities. She was kind of the character you purposely kept in reserve for everything. In light of that, suddenly DKC 3 not having Diddy, much as I liked him, to anchor my familiarity in the series, didn't seem like a big deal anymore. And so when I wanted more DKC stuff, my parents went with me down to the shop, and as my next new game, I picked up DKC 3. Well, I say new, but, well, most games I tended to get in that era were used, out of package, with no manual, because shops always had a bunch of used games like that, and, well, DKC 2 was kind of an outlier for me, getting the copy new and getting all the backstory and such. So, as has been established in the spotlight so far, while DKC can kind of be summed up plot-wise by the empty banana horde cutscene, and even if you skipped out on the manual, the second game had the ransom note, and all the other Kongs constantly mentioning that Donkey Kong was missing. DKC 3 provides you with pretty much no hint as to what's actually going on, and nobody even really mentions that DK and Diddy are absent. So, a few assumptions ran through my head while playing it, like maybe Dixie was just taking a vacation on her own, and the Kremlings showed up to be jerks, or maybe K. Rool had kidnapped Diddy because he thought after DKC 2 it had proven Diddy was the real brains behind the operation in the duo. It hadn't even occurred to me that K. Rool had kidnapped them both. I figured maybe DK didn't know Diddy was missing, or Dixie felt she had to take care of it, or maybe DK just couldn't be bothered. So, yeah, no context on the Kremlings being led by KAOS either. No idea where the game took place. I didn't realize there was supposed to be any kind of big bad reveal. When I first played, I figured KAOS KAOS was just some kind of creepy crow case of reused drone boss partway through the game, and I didn't think K-Rool being in the game was supposed to be any kind of secret until I got on DK Vine years later and saw the original intent of the story. I just thought it was a strangely abrupt way of skipping right to the final boss after his rematch. And then suddenly there was a bunch of dialogue and cookware jokes, and we've been over this enough. DKC3 plays a bit different from the second game, and generally which approach I prefer depends on which sort of game I'm in the mood for. But I think my craptacular memory means I do appreciate that, unlike either of the first two games, Donkey Kong Country 3, with a few exceptions, mostly keeps to a rigid 2 bonus games per world structure. My inner gearhead liked the use of vehicles to navigate around the overworld, that upgrade over time. I really enjoyed interacting with the Brothers Barrett. I seriously love reading NPC chatter in a 2D platformer. That makes it feel like a living, breathing world. I can't get enough of that kind of thing. I also have a fondness for the atmosphere that, describing DKC3 as nostalgic seems fitting if a bit generic. DKC is like the exciting tropical safari, and DKC2 is the thrilling, swashbuckling adventure into the unknown. DKC3 strikes me as kind of like finding beauty in your own backyard sort of thing, with the environments remind me of old summer vacations and camping trips, the kind of places you don't know if you ever return to, but you remember them fondly. Even the art style kind of making things seem larger than life a little bit to bring out that feeling. Anyway, solid cap off to the trilogy, great soundtrack, either version. Some nice shakeups to the formula, and well-deserved title game for Dixie Kong. And Kitty, you know what, his funny animations and silly sound effects made me laugh. I'd like to see him again. Good job, team. I can end on that, right?
Hello, it's me, Matt Cornah. I wanted to ring in to bring you a lengthy summary of my thoughts and feelings concerning Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. I was going to do this, but then found myself with this horrific vocal cords obliterating throat infection. A throat infection which has now somehow unaccountably led to a highly lucrative job as a BBC Radio 3 disc jockey. Disc jockey. But I can still take a short break from my hectic schedule to wish Donkey Kong Country 3, and more especially the character of Kiddy Kong, a very happy 20th birthday. And also to point out that neither of the Kongversation's esteemed hosts seem to be interested in discussing the crucial matter of whether or not Kiddy Kong still wears a nappy at age 20. I know I did. Anyway, I wonder how long I can keep this going.
Okay, done now.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.
You sure it's not the ghosts of one of 8 of Whoopi's aborted children?
Oh, what?
I think she's had like so many abortions.
For when she was dating Ted Danson?
Oh, was she? Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, right at the time the Cheers ended, she and Ted Danson were dating. And I talked about this before. Ted Danson
She likes
up.
Becker Pecker, I guess.